5 to 7 yards. And so it's two of them. They come around the corner, and I don't really register it right away for whatever reason. And so they start shooting before I even get my gun up. Like I'm like kind of in shock, you know, like they got me, like they surprised me. Yeah. I'm like, oh, you know, oh shit. And so
I can imagine.
So they start shooting.
What do you know what time it is? It's rodeo time. You almost checked it, Donnie. It's rodeo time. It's the Rodeo Time Podcast. I almost got Donnie with it after all these years. Today is his 2-year anniversary that you've been here. That means you got a birthday right around the corner, and we're going to shap you. We're not here to talk about Donnie. We're here to talk about my main man, Ross Sherrod. He's a bareback rider, one of my best friends, has been for 15 years, roommates, and he is also a Marine. He's got an awesome story. It's very interesting. The timing of it was impeccable, and it made for, well, I'll just let him tell the story. We talked for long enough that the SD cards on these cameras ran out of space, so that's why I'm having to film this quick intro after the fact. But you're not going to want to miss it. Donnie, Leroy, and I are just entranced with his story, so stay tuned and find out how he won the medal and how both those tours went. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Rodeo Time, DaleBrisby.com. We got this new cap, just ranching. This new shirt, he did, just like Ross. Like if I were over there in Iraq with him, he did. That's how that you use that term. Now it's on a shirt. And then we've got our sewn latigos are back in stock. That's just a random ranching tool that I like to use and provide to you, the citizens of Winnebago. Check out Rock and Roll Denim, Reflex, Can-Am, Off-Road, Total Feeds, American Hats. What else, Donnie? Excalibur Containers. That's about it. We'd like to thank those people for working with us. We'd like to thank you for listening and watching. It's rodeo time, old son.
Rodeo time. Gotta get her on down the road.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Rodeo Time, the podcast. You got your main crew here. Same old with one addition. We've got Mr. Roscoe Diggity, as he is called in my phone and around my condo. Ross Sherrod. Mr. Ross Sherrod, longtime friend of Rodeo Time, longtime friend of Dale Brisby, Leroy Gibbons, and Rodeo all together.
You bet.
Ross Sherrod. Mr. Sherrod. A lot of people don't know how to pronounce your name.
Jacobs and Sterling.
Mr. Sherrod. Well, that's like, how does Procom announce it? I can't remember. Pronounce it.
I think they say Sherrod, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know like every announcer does.
Yeah.
Except the ones that like know. There's like
Except the ones that know. Yeah.
That's when you know you're on the
or Sherrod or
yeah.
Kind
of like Jeremy Malankin.
Yeah.
It's Melanson, but close.
It's how the computer pronounces it is usually how they pronounce it at.
Ross Sherrod here, 2-time veteran of, and then, but.
That was all you're doing.
2 times. It's like one veteran.
The first 3 or two. Not. Well, like the whole first summer we went together, I would like go up and tell the announcer.
Yeah, he'd go up there. He'd like sneak up there.
His name is Sherrod.
He'd sneak up there and tell them about all the veteran stuff, and I'd be like, how the heck did they even know that? I'm like wondering,
who's this guy?
I was trying to get all the points. Because it was every little bit helps,
It does.
It's an objective measurement. Like, it is that guy's opinion. So, like, they hear, oh, he went to Iraq twice. Wow, that horse really mashed him, but he still marked him out. Oh, that's a good ride. Whoa, flying dismount. All of a sudden, I'm going to go with an 84, not a 79. I mean, that's just in theory.
68.
I'm going to go with a 68 instead of a 65.
That, no matter what happened, the crowd still went crazy for you.
Yeah.
If you got one jumped, they still, not that you got one jumped, but if you did get one jumped, they'd still.
We still respect you.
Yeah.
At that time, I wasn't getting one jump. There was a period of time at the beginning where I was getting. Well, no, I guess not really on bareback horses much.
Yeah, I was about to say,
It's
I
hard
don't
to
think
get
I've
one
ever
jumped
seen
on
you get
bareback
one
horses.
jump.
Yeah, no, well, saddle bronc horses,
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's different. Same
I think
thing,
I
but
got one
different.
jumped for a year. Everything I got on
Yeah.
for a year, just
Yeah. The first year you get on saddle bronc horses, you're a one jump chump.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
Just
that,
yeah.
that's bronc riding. That is bronc riding.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like loving in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Neither do I. So anyway, yeah, in bareback riding, it's you gotta be, your hands got to be out of the rigging for you to get one jumped. Like,
Yeah,
because
you gotta
even
get
if you're completely out of
Superman.
control, like the way it takes you to get that. I mean, like you could be flopping all over. with a
Yeah.
second.
I don't know.
There's probably some horses
Well,
that could
I've
one jump you.
seen
Biscuit and Snook. He got one jumped a lot.
What?
I didn't even get one jumped whenever I was on cool water in a bareback.
No,
rigging.
you didn't get one jump.
I mean, it was like
But it-
3.
On horses like that,
man.
sometimes you want to get one jumped.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of, there's been horses where I'm like, ugh, I just want off this sucker. Like, I'm just going to get off.
Yeah.
I just put myself back in at that rodeo while you were getting on cool water, and my stomach started hurting.
I got a doo-doo.
Longview. To the OG podcast listeners, they've heard that story 3 or 4 times. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the rodeo where I decided I was done riding bareback horses because I feel like, I mean, like, I don't want to say anybody can ride the hoppers, but like, because even in bareback riding, like, there's probably plenty of people in the world that would still get a little scared to get on a hopper. But like, as far as going from an average rodeo contestant, cowboy, bareback
Yeah.
rider to an elite, top, I feel like when you draw the tough horses, like
Yeah.
a modern day, like Virgil, then that should like get you excited. Not, and I think a little bit of nervousness is okay, but there's a difference between like using that nervousness rather than like literally almost
Being
peeing in your pants.
absolutely terrified.
Yeah, fearful. like,
just-
and so
I can't believe I'm about to do this. Like,
that's what went through my mind.
yeah.
I can't believe I'm about to do this. And so I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. But like, if it were a bull or even a bronc saddle on one of those horses, like, I'm not saying if I wasn't prepared, there may not be a feeling of doubt creep into my head. It never has before because I'm Dale Brisby and I'm always prepared.
Yeah.
But but in either one of those events, there was not a terrified feeling.
Yeah.
It was
see,
more of a I'm ready for this challenge feeling.
Well, and mine was kind of in the bronc riding. Like, I was always worried about catching a dang stirrup. Like, I was always worried about sliding off the edge and catching a stirrup.
Yeah.
And I think I did it. Like, the third horse I ever got on, I slid off, caught my left stirrup, and I freaking drug halfway around the arena.
Dang.
And your dad was sitting there hollering at me, telling me to roll to my belly. And so I rolled over, but I got stepped on all on the backside, like on the backside of my
Yeah.
shoulder and stuff. That was like the third horse I got on.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so
Out of
From
Bubba's.
Oh, that was it. No, I bet it was at a school.
it was at New Caney.
Yeah, it was at a
Yeah.
school.
Dude, I love
Yeah.
that school.
I was about
In
to say if
May-
it was his third horse and
May
Pop
of,
was there.
May of 05.
Dang, I forgot that
Yeah.
you met him before you met us.
Yeah, so I got out of the Marine Corps like May 5th of 05. And then like 2 weeks later, I went to that school in New Caney and met your dad.
Dang.
And I
forgot
so
about
I
that,
started
man.
getting on broncs.
Yeah.
And at that Sankey school, started getting on broncs. Had a crappy saddle. Just a bunch of stuff that I threw together and thought that this is what I needed.
What size was it?
It was probably a 17.
Oh
At least.
Ross should be riding probably a 15 and 3/4.
15 and 3, yeah, or a 16 on the long end.
So, just knowing you and obviously knowing my father, in that moment, like, I imagine he wasn't freaking out because he had, not only been hung up probably, but seen it a million times. And so he's yelling at you the correct, like, fundamentals of how to react, which is if you're ever hung up to a horse getting drugged by a stirrup, the way your foot is shaped and the way the stirrup is shaped, if you'll roll over, typically you will come out. Your boot's supposed to come off. But if you got, if it doesn't come off and you roll to your belly the way your foot's shaped, when it turns over, it should come out. So that's protocol.
Yeah.
When you're hung up, you roll to your belly. And so he's yelling that. And I imagine you're staying pretty calm.
Somewhat. I mean, like,
Ow!
I'm flying to the air.
I mean, the first one I got on, I got bucked off and landed on my dang head. So I'm like, like if you hit somebody in football looking down and, spear somebody, you get that little stinger.
Oh, yeah.
So I had that little stinger the first one I got on. So then by the third one, I was pretty sored up. I mean, I was 23, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And so, I think I was pretty calm. I mean, I was like, I don't know what the hell to do here. I'm just dragging around the arena. Maybe somebody will stop this horse eventually. But he was sitting there hollering to me, and so I was like, oh. And so I just rolled over, and foot came out, and everything was good.
Like, wow, that worked.
Yeah.
That's the best. Like, now you'll never have to wonder. If you ever get hung up to a horse, you're just gonna. That's how you fundamentally install the protocol in somebody's heart and mind. Like, put them in it and then use it, and now all of a sudden you'll never forget. Like, roll to your belly. So how long was it? But the reason why I say, like, I can imagine how you acted was because, like, we've all been in pressure situations, which is relative when you're talking to Ross Sherrod, who's a 2-time veteran of Iraq. But the point is like, I've seen you in, like, some situations where, like, for instance, one time we were working at the Texas A&M vet clinic together in the equine department.
That means horses.
And some horses.
Howard Fisher.
What was that? Yeah, that was
Howard
the one guy.
Fisher?
Yeah. He taught us all the best napping secret spots.
He still works there, and now the guy's gonna get fired.
There was a guy that worked in the cafeteria. We went in there all the time. As a Mexican guy standing around, and he called him Ron. I don't even remember what his name was, but he called him Rodriguez. He called every Mexican guy he came across. He called him Rodriguez.
What was the other Mexican guy's name? The older one, Val, maybe.
Victor.
Victor.
Yeah, I don't remember his Pineda, maybe.
Pineda.
Victor
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had his daughter was like a track star. She would always come out to Snook and get in the calf scramble. She won it, and finally I was like, you can't be in this year. Let me just give you $5. We're gonna let these other kids get a chance at winning this calf scramble.
I saw him the kids had an STYRA deal over in Snook at Kermit's place, and he was over there, and I saw him, and him and his daughters and stuff were there, and I saw Kermit and them too. It was kind of funny, but
yeah, flooding memories. But.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the vet clinic. What was our Sam?
Old Sam Wickington.
Sam.
Dude would sneak around and try to catch you not working somewhere. He'd call you, where you at? And he'd be looking at you, like sneaking around the corner, looking at you and call you and ask you where you were to try to get you in a lie or something. I don't know if he must have had like bad reputation with employees, or
he had like 9 wives.
Yeah.
And they were all like half his age, which is fine, whatever.
All at the same time, or
no?
No. Yeah. And I think he was like dang near 70 years old, still working, and had to, because his youngest child was like 4. So he had to keep on working. He could hardly walk.
Yeah. I mean, he was stove up.
Yeah.
Stove up. But
could
man,
hardly get out to bed come the morning.
We would mess with these sour horses.
Yeah.
People would just donate horses, they'd be like, they would be probably A&M actual donors. And so they just had this right to kind of do what they wanted and give away horses to the vet clinic, you know, like, because they didn't want to kill them. They didn't want to, you know, sell them to anybody. So they thought, well, let's just. So we would end up having to halter break or break this herd of horses, and it was just. It was right in the middle of College Station, and there was like 20 acres where just a bunch of random horses were, and me and Ross were charged with having, and some of them were just, they just shouldn't be alive kind of horses, you know? And piss heads. And a few of them got out on the highway. Well, it was like a main road. Like I want to say
2818, didn't they?
No, it was the one that goes in front of the chicken.
University?
Is that University or that?
Yeah,
it's
University.
Texas. Either Texas or University.
Texas.
Yeah, University runs in front.
Yeah, so University.
Yeah,
And,
that's where the bars are. That's on University.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, Leroy. And I remember, like, Sam was freaking out. Howard was kind of freaking out. Victor was definitely freaking out. And I was, like, just kind of didn't know what to do. And Ross was like, okay, well, do you want to drive? Or do I need to? Are you driving? And he was just like, it just wasn't a big deal, you know, like.
Well, and I think
it's not that you didn't care. It wasn't that you didn't care. It was just like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, well,
and the horse wasn't like on University. It's not like he's sitting there like looking for something to graze on the asphalt. It was
they were
just
in
like
the long pasture.
in the vicinity.
They were in the in the
it
grass.
could have been bad.
Yeah,
But like speed limit at that on right there is like 45. So like for the most part, like if somebody's paying attention, they're not going to die.
no.
Anyways,
But no,
everybody's freaking out except for Ross.
I think and a lot of that stuff just goes back to, and Ashley gives me a hard time about this too, my wife. But like, I deal a lot of stuff in. Just based upon my experiences, I deal a lot of stuff in life and death. Like, I mean, that's how it is to me. Like, is it something where somebody's going to die, somebody's going to lose their life? Well, no. Okay, well, we got time to, we got time to kind of sit back and figure it out a little bit. Like, she's giving me, like, especially with the kids, like they'll fall out, bust something, and a lot of times I don't rush right over to figure out, because I saw it happen, or I know it's not that, there's no blood, there's no, so it's not, I don't rush into action. But if there was something to rush into, I'm always aware.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always on, and she said stuff before, like, I don't think, like, sometimes you don't seem like you pay attention. I'm like, I'm always paying attention. Like, I'm always aware of everything. I just don't show it.
Respond
and I'm pretty
to it.
quiet about it. And I don't respond to things unless it needs to be responded to, I guess.
Was that something that was like they taught you in training early on, or is this like just a result of what happened?
I think it's a result of, like, because if you, in anything, whether you're swimming, whether you're doing whatever, the worst thing that you can ever do is start panicking.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst thing. Once you start panicking, your mind goes to different places.
Yeah.
And that's like with Brody, he's 10 years old. The first thing he does is panic when something starts happening. Like, he's 10 years old. And so I'm trying to get him into that sort of mindset. Like, sometimes it's it doesn't seem like it, but sometimes it's faster to sit back, take a breath, and look at the situation, and then go do it. Because if you start panicking and rushing around, and you'll forget something, or you'll do something that you didn't need to do, that then slowed you down from doing what you were trying to do. So it's
Slow
it's
down,
just kind
we're
of
in a
one
hurry.
of those. Yeah, it's kind of one of those. It's faster to be slow, or like, what is it, like, slow and steady wins the race kind of deal.
Right.
But that's just kind of I think it's something that I learned just based upon experiences.
Yeah.
Like, you go, you go to combat or whatever, and the first time you get shot at, you're probably going to duck. But once you figure
Wait a second. Maybe not the second time, though?
Well, yeah, so once you figure out that, essentially the one the one that you don't hear is the one that gets you. If you hear it, you're fine. It's not like if you don't hear it, you probably dead. But the one that you don't hear is the one that gets you. So like, if you got a bunch of rounds going over your head or whatever, you might get to cover. Like you don't want to just stand out there and say, "Oh, where's that coming from?" But you might get to cover, but you're not gonna duck the round that you just heard.
Right.
So there's no reason to. Essentially, there's no reason to duck.
Gotcha.
But when you first get shot at the first time,
How different does it sound when it's like coming at you as opposed to going over there?
so when it's going over there, you hear the report, you hear the gun going off. When it's coming at you, you hear the snap going above your head. So that's how it's different. It's more of a, I guess, like a whistling sound, like a fast whistling sound, like a like it, and you can hear it, but you can hear it if you're like, in the brush or like in the, you can hear it coming through the grass. Like the first experience that I had in a firefight was in that first initial invasion. We went into, I don't even remember what town it is, but one of the first towns.
So you got out of just to set up whatever this story is about to be. You got out of basic training, and you're sitting in the airport, and tell people the date. What was going on?
Yeah. So I graduated Marine Corps boot camp August 31st of 2001.
August 31st, 2001.
Yeah.
So if you guys are familiar with history, that's about 10 days before.
Yeah. So I went home.
9/11, 2001.
So they give you 10 days of leave after boot camp. So you go home for 10 days, and then you go to either, if you're in the infantry, you go straight to school of infantry, just straight up infantry school.
Yeah.
If you're anything else other than infantry, so like me, I was a combat engineer attached to infantry units, so I went to a different school. So since that, you go to what they call Marine Combat Training, so it's a little bit different. SOI is, the school of infantry is longer. It's just their school. That's what they do. So if you're another job besides that, you go to Marine Combat Training first, which is like 7 weeks, I think, something like that. But so anyway, I was in the airport with my dad. That was back when you could walk with somebody all the way to the all the way to the gate. And so Dad went with me down to the airport, and I was flying back.
Because it was before 9/11.
Because it was yeah. Well, it was the day. It was the day of
August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was September 11th.
You're in the airport.
I was at, yeah. So
essentially, the last day someone could walk to the terminal with you in the world ever.
Yeah.
Your dad was walking to the terminal with you. Little did you know it was about to be the last.
The last
someone
time
could do
ever.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, so we walk. He walks. We get to the terminal. We get to the gate. I get on the plane. Well, we watched the first one hit in the airport before I even got on the plane. So that happened at like 9-something a.m.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that's kind of interesting. We thought it was like just somebody
an accident.
Yeah, an accident.
That's
somebody
right.
Accidentally
Everybody thought it was an
crashed
accident at first.
Everybody thought it was an accident. So we got on the plane because everybody thinks it's an accident at this point. So we get on the plane. I'm sitting on the plane, and then apparently the second one hits while I'm on the plane. And so the captain's like, gets on the speaker and is like, hey, everybody's been grounded. Pretty much flight's canceled.
Dang.
Get off the plane.
Yeah.
And so I get off the plane, walk in there with Dad, and he was still in there because he was kind of thinking that something might, that the flights might get canceled. So he was still there, and I went back in there, and we kind of watched a little bit more of it there. But then we went and got in the truck and went home, and then actually, y'all have met Todd Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I went over to Todd because Todd was Todd hadn't been to boot camp yet, and he was supposed to go in October. So he was set to go to boot camp in October. So I went over to his house, to his parents' house, and we just sat and watched it all day, like on the news and stuff. And so at that point, like him and I were talking about it, and at that point, it's kind of like, okay, we're probably going to have to do something about this. So me being in the Marine Corps in a combat MOS, I'm probably at some point along in my 4 years, because this is the beginning of my 4 years.
Yeah.
So I'm at some point in this next 4 years going to probably see some kind of action, you know. And so it's just kind of preparing your mind for that, and then you go to. So after that, when I went to MCT, Marine Combat Training, things kind of changed, because so what guys were saying before was, before all that, it was pretty lax. Like, they weren't pushing guys hard. They were, you know, just kind of, it was all peacetime. It'd been peacetime for the last 10 years, since Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was really pushing anybody that hard. Like, nobody was, you know, from what I heard from those guys that were already in my unit before I even got there, they were just kind of sitting around playing video games, training every once in a while, like, doing maintenance on their equipment every once in a while. They weren't really doing a whole lot. And so Marine Combat Training, they ramped it up. And it was pretty tough. Not tougher than
That's a heavy statement.
not tougher than boot camp, I don't think, just because it was shorter, but they did ramp up the training. And so then I went from there to North Carolina to do my explosives training school stuff, to learn how to do all that demolition work.
Did they speed up the time?
Mm-mm.
Knowing, okay, so they didn't like.
No, so they
didn't skip any steps.
Because nothing was, nobody had come up with a plan on what to do about any of this.
It took G-Dub a little bit.
Yeah, it took him a little bit before because I think we
didn't really even know who the enemy was at the time.
No, I think they kind of had it narrowed down to Bin Laden, but didn't really know where he was or how they were going to get to him or anything like that. So I think they didn't they send some people to Afghanistan first or something?
Afghanistan first.
Yeah.
Then Iraq.
Yeah.
Then back to Afghanistan.
Yeah,
so that's what.
Yeah, the horse dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I got to, so I got done with my job school about early December.
Is it interesting, like, how he just, like, threw me a bone and asked me? Thank you, by the way.
No,
continue.
Seriously, because I don't really remember exactly what happened first. I just remember the parts that I was involved in.
I imagine.
So I went to my unit. I got sent to California. I was at Pendleton. In 1st Combat Engineer Battalion. And so I went there in December, and guys, we were just still in peacetime. Like, there was no sense of urgency. There was no anything like that. And so we probably, tinkered around and did little stuff for 6 to 8 months maybe. And
68 months. Wow.
68. But so about probably September, October of, I guess that would be 2002.
Man, a year.
Yeah, so a year later, September 11th comes back around a year later, then we start training. And they're talking about, hey, we're going to go eliminate some forces in Iraq, Afghanistan, somewhere.
Yeah.
So we start training, like, getting ready for desert type stuff. So we go out to 29 Palms and do a bunch of stuff in the desert, which sucks. Real bad. And then
so the cold weather training you did never really came in handy.
No, the cold weather, so the cold weather training wasn't until my second tour.
Oh, okay. Anyways, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, first tour, we start training, and this is where I was telling I was telling Emily this morning. I don't even know how we got in this conversation, but like, so I was in a Humvee, and they were like, "Hey, we're doing some demo down here on this range. Go up to the front of the range and sit there,
Yeah.
and pretty much be range guard, like you know, sergeant of the guard for the range or whatever. Like, make sure nobody comes down this road." So I'm up there, and I'm up there for a little while, and I'm like, man, I gotta take a freaking dump bad. And I'm like looking around, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like, trucks are driving by and stuff, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking in the back of this Humvee, and there's an MRE box back there. So I get in the back of the truck. There's a canopy over it, but I get in the back of the truck and I take a dump in this MRE box and close it up and put it back in the, and I don't know who found it or anything. I just left it in the back of that truck.
Oh, this will be funny.
To be funny?
Yeah. But I don't know who ended up finding it. Nobody ever said anything.
I gotta switch this. Because this is, it's just, I was looking at it, you can't
It's that poop again.
What in the world?
Being the guy.
Don't put it out with your boots, Ted.
Quiet, devil woman.
Oh man. But that was out at that
29 Palms.
yeah, they call it CAX, and I don't really remember what the acronym was there, but anyway, so it's like a
Oh, after
2
you got
months.
done, they called it Yaks.
yeah. It's like a 2-month long training just through the desert,
Did it help?
being miserable.
Was it?
Kinda. I mean, it got you used to some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would imagine that it helped, but at the time we weren't. Like, I was, 20 years old, pissed off at everything anyway. But
So
okay, so
after that,
so after that we start kind of, old G-Dub kind of starts giving word that we're gonna go, at least occupy, like kind of show force, I guess. So we start kind of loading up our stuff, and we flew to Kuwait in like late January of 03, late January of 03. And we sat in Kuwait, trained, drank a bunch of water, like
was it hot?
yeah. So it was probably 120 during the day.
God.
But it got down to 60, 55 to 60 at night. So your body just, it can't adjust to that. Like, you go from 120 sweating your ass off.
Yeah.
And when the sun goes down, it drops down to 60 like that. So you're freezing cold. Like, even though it's 60 degrees, you feel like you're about to freeze to death because you're soaking wet. But so anyway, so you gotta, I think they did it so we could get used to we could get used to everything first. But
Yeah.
we sat in Kuwait from the end of January until March 21st was when we, March 21st, 03 was when we crossed the border. So we sat in Amtrak's that night, right there on the border, taking artillery and stuff like that from the Iraqis, sitting there with a damn gas mask on all night, in full chemical gear.
Yeah, because y'all didn't know what was going
Full chemical gear, like Mach 4 suit, the boots, the suit, the hood on, the gas mask, gloves, everything. And
It was a long time you had to wear that.
we had to wear that. We had to wear the boots and the suit, not the gloves and not the hood, but the boots and the suit for probably 3 weeks.
So
In
March
120 degree weather.
Yes.
what?
March 21st,
2003.
2003. Yeah.
So you were there the first day.
Yeah, I mean, we crossed the border. So, yeah, we were one of the first groups to cross the border.
Dang.
Like so combat engineers, we get rid of barriers, get rid of, obstacles and stuff like that. So the border wall was something that we had built back in, that the Americans had built back in Desert Storm for the Kuwaitis.
Yeah.
So we had to get over our own damn obstacle.
Yeah.
So we were the first ones through because we had to get rid of the obstacle.
Yeah.
And so we pushed through the first day, and it's hard to kind of remember like day-to-day stuff because it all just kind of runs together.
Yeah.
But so we push through and we get to the first town, and this is where
that
first firefight comes in.
I'm sure there's some listeners that were like, dang it, Dale.
Yeah, you realize.
So we're back.
We're back.
I had it in my mind. I was going to make sure you told that story.
So we're back to where, so we roll up. So if anybody that knows Amtrak's, there's a ramp that drops down the back.
Yeah.
So they drop that ramp and you can run out the back. So there's 8 of us.
I'm already nervous.
There's 8 of us living in the back of this Amtrak for over a month together.
Oh.
Nonstop.
How many square feet? As big as this room?
No.
Oh my God.
It's like
Smaller.
a truck. Like,
Yeah.
It's like the back end.
I know, but this room's pretty small.
Back end of a long bed.
Yeah. I mean, it's bigger than that. It's probably
Half this room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So from probably where
Not
Donnie,
enough room for the 8 of you to lay down.
No, there was no laying down
You sitting
unless
down.
you fell down, which I did that too.
And you had to get up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, so they dropped the hatch, and I mean, there's already shots firing because tanks roll in first.
Yeah.
Tanks roll in first. You're right behind them. You go in and clear out these mangroves, is what they call them. It was a bunch of palm trees, and then scattered throughout the palm trees they were in fighting holes in there. So we got to go in and clear that stuff out. And so kind of the first firefight, you don't really, it's a lot like getting on bareback horse for the first time. You just you don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So you hear rounds coming, like cutting through the grass. You can hear them like going through the grass, but you got to keep moving. You stand in one spot and
Yeah. That's when they
you're
get a beat
toast.
on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Iraqis kind of have the spray and pray method. Like they don't really aim. They just kind of
Thankfully.
they don't stick their head out of a fighting hole much. They just kind of do this number. But so if you can run, but it makes it easier to run by and pitch a grenade in there. Because they don't know you're they assume you're coming. I'm sure they can hear you coming, but they don't know you're coming. So it's easier to just kind of run by and doink. You hear that
sound?
You hear that pin fly? Doink. Well, you hear that pin fly? You ever heard a pin fly on a grenade?
I've not, actually.
But so anyway, I was carrying so I don't know, I may have told you this story. Do you remember when I got hurt that time in Snook, my arms locked up. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like I cramped up real bad. So I was carrying a 240 Golf, which is the upper level of the submachine. Like it's like
a 308 fully automatic.
Yeah.
Big.
And so
Big bastard.
big. Yeah, I mean it's that big. It's got a bipod on it. It's interchangeable barrels when it gets too hot, the whole deal.
Yeah.
So it's not a 50 cal like mounted on a truck, but it's the smaller
Yeah.
it's, and so I was carrying that. So 120 degrees.
Were you shooting it?
Full chemical suit.
As
Yeah.
you-
No, not as I was running.
Okay.
Because I had an ammo.
Sounds like some Rambos.
Because it's belt fed. It's belt fed.
Belt.
It's belt fed ammo.
I was just
so you got
picturing Rambo with Ross's face on it.
With a gas mask.
we weren't wearing the gas mask then, but we were still in the suit.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I was running in through there, like, it's funny, but when you're in training, when you're learning how to rush a position, like be on the offense toward a defensive position, you run and then you get down, and what you're supposed to say in your head is, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. So that's how you're supposed to do it. So in that amount of time, you're supposed to run and then get back down.
Okay.
So I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. You got about that much amount of time before you go back down. So I was, since I had the 240, I was kind of in the front a little bit, but I had to kind of get up and get down and get up and get down and fire a little bit. But so it was.
So when you got on the ground, you were firing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I got on the ground, I was firing, and then we kind of eliminated that force and got back to the Amtrak, and that's when I was freaking locked up, boy. My forearms were. I thought I was gonna fall out. Like, I thought I was toast. And
Your
so-
arms just locked up, and it made your hands come up like
Yeah,
this.
so my
cramp.
forearms just completely cramped up, so it made my hands just do this, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't use my hands.
Was everybody laughing at you?
Kinda, yeah.
Y'all
It was-
weren't doing a lot of laughing at the time.
Well, no, when that was over with, we were,
I bet you felt
felt a lot better
Yeah.
about our situation than when we were going into it.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, they kind of gave me a hard time about that, gave me a bunch of hot water and some salt, and
Yeah. So in
We
Snook,
went to
when
the
it
next
happened,
one.
you were like, "Oh, this has happened before."
Was it when we were headed to Caldwell
yeah.
afterwards?
I remember y'all telling me about that, like in the Snook part. I was, because I had to stay and finish putting on the rodeo.
Yeah.
But anyway, so forget about me putting on a rodeo and Snook. We're not gonna take a break. So 80 y'all came back
So-
to this.
Yeah, so everybody
Okay,
came
cool,
back. There
cool.
was a guy. So and actually at that point was the first time I saw one of our own get, what do you say, like mortally wounded or like fatally wounded?
Uh-oh.
But he hadn't died at the point that I saw him. They were working on him.
Dang.
And so it's kind of one of those deals is like, okay, and that's the first one.
Dang.
So you go through that firefight, and at the end of it, he was in a different unit, but he was still along
Yeah, for sure.
with us. So it was, we found out later he didn't make it. So that was it was one of those deals of like, okay, this shit is real.
Yeah, hell
like
yeah.
bullets are
Golly.
flying, they will hit you and they will kill you.
Yeah.
And so it's
Not that you ever doubted it.
not that we
but
ever doubted it, but it
You
was
hadn't
like
seen it.
you'd never seen it before in your life. You're 19, 20 years old.
Gosh dang.
I mean, I guess I was 20, so I turned 21 in Kuwait, February 25th
Golly.
of 03.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing because that's heavy.
Yeah,
Like, I remember I turned 21. We went to the chicken.
yeah.
I was at the Dixie Chicken
I
in
turned-
College Station.
Turned 21 and he took me to the tap.
Yeah, I bought you a beer when I turned
Yeah,
21.
So they
I
they
didn't
bought-
drink one myself.
They got a can of Kuwaiti Coca-Cola from the chow hall and put some duct tape around it and wrote beer down the side.
That was your first beer.
That was yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was my
Legal.
first beer
First
when I,
legal beer.
yeah.
So you come out of the back of that Amtrak. You did duck the first time you
Oh yeah.
coming full circle on your comment.
Well, and you're on the borderline of shitting your pants.
Not
Like
only
you-
did you duck, but
Yeah. Now, once later on, once the second tour came along and I'd already experienced it, but for the very first time, like in your entire life that you've ever been shot at and know that you're about to get shot at, and people are dying, and people's lives on the other side are ending, and you're potentially going to end them, like it's a pretty, I mean, it'll hit you pretty quick and hard.
What was it like that night? Where did y'all stay? Like that night, y'all stayed in the Amtrak?
Well, you don't really stay. Like you just
You keep moving.
yeah, you're
not wording it right, Dale.
There's no staying. You might, if you're lucky, you might get an hour of sleep.
That was okay. So you've told me these stories, but like, so y'all did just kind of quote unquote stay in the Amtrak.
Yeah,
Y'all just
we
moved
were in
around.
it. Yeah.
So it wasn't just like
There's no
y'all
getting
go out.
getting in a rack or anything.
Yeah.
Well, there was I think I can remember 2 nights that we had enough time to stop, roll out a little,
2 nights
not
out of,
even
out of what?
sleep, out of like a month or so.
Damn.
That we actually got to, like, not even a sleeping bag because it's too damn hot for a sleeping bag, but like that we actually got to like kind of lay down on the ground
Yeah.
for a couple hours.
Right.
It wasn't like it was we weren't at the La Quinta.
Yeah. So that first deal, it wasn't like, all right, we cleared out this deal. How many hours? How long did that take? An hour?
No, not even, like
Yeah.
30 minutes.
The way you told the story made it sound like it was relatively quick. So
Yeah.
like, but it wasn't like, all right, we're done for a while, a week, or even y'all went to the next thing.
Yeah, so we
right
go
after that.
Yeah, so you just roll on to the next because you're eliminating forces in each town as you roll north. Because the
So
ending,
however long you got to the next town, that's the break you got.
yeah, well, it's not even necessarily a break because you don't know what you're gonna encounter along the way. Because there were Iraqis and trucks and whatever else,
Yeah.
that you would encounter, and artillery and
Just had to
mortars,
stay
and
ready.
every time we got a freaking mortar or artillery tech, we had to put that damn gas mask back on. And so you gotta, do all that and go through your procedures and where's it coming from and call it in, and then they do an airstrike on it or an artillery strike on it and eliminate the force, then you can roll on. And so, but our convoy, I don't even know how many were in it because I was in the back of the damn Amtrak the whole time, but the convoy at different points in time would take artillery or mortar hits.
Yeah.
So then you have to essentially stop to eliminate the force before you can move on. And so we kept pushing and ended up like outrunning our supply lines. And so that was where I guess they were like, should we stop and wait for our supply? And whoever was in charge said, no, y'all keep on rolling. So we ended up the days. So there probably maybe the last week so it took us 3 weeks to get to Baghdad.
Okay.
and pull down the statue and all that business. Took us 3 weeks, and then we were there in Baghdad kind of as a show of force for about a week, maybe a little bit more before we went back to Kuwait. So we're in week, 2, about halfway through week 3, and we're down to 1 MRE a day. So
Son of a gun.
So 1 MRE a day. I think we had taken off the chemical suits at this point, but it's still 120 degrees.
Right.
No sleep.
Was there AC in the Amtrak? This is probably a stupid question.
No. No AC. That window up top. That was the only AC.
So it's 120 outside, and you're in a metal box.
Yeah. In the back of a metal box.
And there's a window.
There's
in
a
the
window
top.
at the top. There's two top hatches that open up like this. That's it. And
so you're down to 1 MRE.
Yeah, so we're down to 1 MRE, and a bunch of hot water. Cause there's no ice.
Hey, let's stop and get some ice at this next truck.
That
you guys
water,
see a truck stop. I'd like a bag of ice.
That water is about like what most people would take a shower in.
Like
the
first
temperature.
water coming out of the water hose kind of water in the hot summer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
What you would take a
it's
shower in.
Yeah, that's the temperature of the water.
Super refreshing.
Yeah.
And you got to drink it.
Got to.
You got to.
You have no choice.
Especially when you only have 1 MRE a day.
Yeah, you can survive
How
without...
many calories are in an MRE?
2,500.
I bet I was about to say, I bet they pack them. So, like, at least you're getting calories.
Yeah, and you can go without eating. You can't go without drinking water. It doesn't matter. Like, you...
He went straight to that.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about getting enjoyment out of a meal. And he was like,
No,
no. You're fine without food.
Yeah.
Which, I'm just glad to have
Well, and
water.
that's what it came down to, because we outran our supply lines. And so before we got to the Diyala River, before we crossed into Baghdad, they finally caught up to us. But we went 2 days with no MRE.
So this is just a lesson for you youngsters out there to listen to the podcast. When you watch these commercials, these military commercials where it's all sexy and everything. Well, we're in relatively like peaceful times compared to what you're talking about. So that, it might actually be like that, but like this story, you're 2 days with no food and they knew it.
Yeah.
They're like,
They knew it.
yeah.
Yeah, they said, no, keep pushing on.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta get it while it's good.
So-
like, we got to go.
You're without food. I don't really like to walk across the room hungry.
No,
I
not
don't
now.
like to go to I'm not getting on a horse. I'm not ranching. If I haven't eaten, I'm like the commercial with the Snickers. You're not yourself when you're hungry. That's me. Okay. So like you guys are 2 days without food, and you had to fight.
Yeah, and that's not only 2 days without food, but that's with hot water, no sleep. Like,
But I'm saying and in those 2 days even.
yeah. Yeah, we're still rolling.
So it's just you had that first experience. Was there anyone in your were all 8 of y'all brand new to it, or was there someone there with you guys that was
Was in Desert Storm or something?
yeah, I guess it would have had to been 10 years earlier. I guess
Yeah.
there probably wasn't.
Mm-mm.
There's no combat.
Nobody.
There was no combat experience around you?
Nobody.
Because in the movies, there's always a vet that's yeah, this is
Follow
what it's
me.
like.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess in our defense, that was 19 years ago. So, there's been a lot of people. We all know someone in the last 19 years, been to Afghanistan, like yourself, been to Iraq.
Yeah.
But at the time when you were in there, that was not
There was
the case.
nobody. I mean, it had been...
So you
when
guys
was Desert
all
Storm
experienced that
1991.
for the first time together, and you just had to. Was there anybody that did everybody in your circle take to it pretty good and
Yeah, everybody in my... So, we kind of got rid of the people that we thought weren't going to make it before.
Oh, so you had already kind of culled out.
Yeah. There was a
Some.
couple guys that didn't make the trip.
Yeah.
So, but for the
Because
most part...
because they weren't interesting to talk to, or because you
No.
thought they might get you killed.
Yeah.
Was that a group vote? Who decides that?
The platoon commanders and... Yeah.
Was there? But for the most part, they made the right call.
Oh, yeah.
So your
Yeah.
guys that are with you, they
Oh, we had a guy that was...
He slipped through the cracks.
That's what we always call it. Every once in a while, there's somebody that goes through boot camp that this kid spent a year in boot camp trying to get through, and
In
he
boot
slipped.
camp?
Yes, spent a year in boot camp.
would fail.
Would fail, go back,
Fail.
fail, go back.
Wow.
It's been an entire year in boot camp.
And he's with you in Iraq.
No. He didn't make the trip.
Oh, okay.
That's what-
okay.
yeah.
He's one of the ones that he didn't necessarily.
Yeah, so I.
He's
And
at
it-
the recruiting station.
This is gonna sound terrible, But like we got tired of helping him all the time, you know, like trying to push him and trying to, you know, like, and so one day we were in training, like had gas masks on, running up hills in California, and my squad leader at the time was like, hey Sherrod, help him, you know, like push him up the hill, make sure he gets up the hill.
This is that guy?
This is that guy that didn't make the trip.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna push this summer gun up the hill. So I put my feet in the ground and I stick my hand in the middle of his back and I'm freaking trucking it, like I'm getting up this hill. And he's like this. And I'm pushing the crap, and eventually he just gives out and falls down. Like he just fell down in front of me, so I just went right over the top of him and just kept on going. Like I was like, man,
what more can I do for you?
Yeah, I can't help you anymore.
Yeah.
Like and so he didn't make the trip. But it's guys like that don't, they end up kind of.
So, I'm just you're 2 days without food.
Yeah.
Like, what's it like fighting? No sleep, no food, only hot water. It's 120 degrees. What was it like? I mean, did it mess with your mind?
Not at that point.
In the heat of it, you're sharp enough that.
Yeah, you're sharp enough, and at that point, since you're in week 3, you've had that last 3 weeks of experience, so it's almost like it's another day.
Do you feel?
I mean, you still
did you
get
feel
to
like that
level.
3 weeks had gone by fast, or did you feel like it was like a year?
No, I felt like it went by pretty fast,
Really?
And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff about it that I don't remember. Like, just flat out don't remember. Like it was
just
kind
like
of
shit that went
from
down.
the first firefight until we cross into Baghdad is all almost just a blur. I mean, I remember.
How many fights do you think happened between?
At least 6.
Like 6 where it's just like there's bullets flying at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they didn't run when we got, because they started getting, once, we're a week and a half into this, they start kind of getting work, because there's cell phones at this point, and they've got them.
Yeah.
And so they're getting word passed down to them like,
hey, these assholes are coming.
Yeah, they're going to kill you.
What's his name? What's his name didn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
So.
Man, these guys are jumping out of tanks wearing rain gear, man.
Text not delivered.
120 degrees.
Yeah.
These guys are crazy.
I thought he was an alien.
These guys are crazy.
These guys are
and
aiming.
so by that point.
There's one short one called Sherrod. He's got explosives and a 240.
But
You can get him if his arm's locked up. Watch it.
Yeah, just make his arms lock up.
Yeah.
He's toast. But yeah, so at that point, once we roll into town, it's almost like there was somebody telling them, hey, you got to go out in that fighting hole or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And so they go out in that fighting hole. Once we roll into town, they're shucking their clothes and they're out of there.
What do you mean?
I mean, they're taking
What
off
are their
their
clothes?
uniform. They're taking off their uniforms and they're hightailing it.
Oh, so they're like, hey, I'm
They're
done.
going to the nearest house and getting under the mattress. Like they're not trying to, they're sitting there eating grapes one minute, and then the next minute they're freaking out of there.
Was there, did any of them happen at night?
Not very many. Maybe a few.
So that's just the first 3 weeks. How long were you over there, the full tour?
So the full tour, so that first tour wasn't that long. We went over there for a specific reason.
Okay.
We were in Iraq for a month, and we went back down to so we crossed over into Baghdad somewhere around the beginning of April, like the first week of April or so. Pulled down the statue and did all that stuff, and then we were kind of an occupying force. We did patrols and eliminated some forces and cleared some buildings and different stuff like that, and talked to some locals and stuff for about a week and a half, and then we went back. Then we just drove all the way back down to Kuwait, and then we were in Kuwait for probably 2 or 3 weeks, just kind of sitting around, and then we got on a ship and went back to California.
So you were only there total.
I was only there fighting for a month.
Yeah.
Out of that whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, we need to go over there, send a message.
Yeah.
But y'all knew that you weren't done.
We kind of assumed that we weren't done, but so they came in, so the Army came in and relieved us at that point. And so,
gotcha.
And so then, we went home, and so then they occupied and kind of,
They're still fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They're still doing patrols. They're still fighting. They're still, eliminating forces. They're still clearing houses, doing all that stuff,
Yeah.
during the time that we, go back. But I was telling Ashley the other day, we were talking about some stuff. We were talking about sandstorms. And so there was, at one point, so one of the nights, it was... So a sandstorm rolled in, and then it started raining, and so all that sand turned into mud, so it was just mud flying through the air. And so it was completely pitch dark. It got dark, and it was completely pitch dark to the point you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Like you couldn't see anything.
You were out in it?
No, we weren't out. We were in the Amtrak's. But so we had to park because nobody could do anything. Nobody could move. Nobody could do anything. But so we still, which is funny, they still made us like one person go outside and stand guard. But we had a freaking tether tied to them so that whenever their time was up, their hour or whatever was up, we just they
didn't get
pull
lost.
on the tether and they'd come back to back up the tether. But yeah, you couldn't see anything. I mean, nothing. That's the darkest I've ever. Like, even if you, close all the windows and turn off the lights in here, it still wouldn't be as dark as that was.
Dang.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, is that the tour where either the hotel or the
graveyard?
Yeah.
Oh, the cemetery? No, that's the second one. That's the second tour.
How
that's
much?
Najaf.
How much time? How long? Did you fly back after the first tour? Or you on
No,
a boat?
so we went back on ship after the first tour.
Is that when you stopped in Australia?
Yeah. Yeah. Stopped in stopped in Australia. We stopped for 4 days in Sydney, and they just turned us loose. Like, we had a bunch of money. Like, 'cause we'd been getting combat pay for 3 months.
Yeah.
3 or 4 months, nowhere to spend it, so it's just sitting in your bank account. So we got to
get it out of
money.
there.
Yeah.
You got to get it out of there.
So we got all that money. We just get turned loose in Sydney for 4 days. I didn't see nothing. I mean, to be honest, we drank and partied.
I thought you were pleading the fifth. Like
No. Like we didn't go see the sights. We didn't get in a boat. We didn't, we went
There wasn't no fishing.
you didn't go zip lining.
We went to go eat. We went to the bar. The bar in Australia, they don't close down the bar at 2. It stays open all night long.
And they love Americans.
Yeah,
Or they did at that point, maybe.
We'd roll in there, and the sun would come up. We'd go to the hotel and sleep for a little while, and then get up at 4 p.m., go eat, and go do it again.
But
That's what we did for 4 days.
What about the tennis balls?
Oh, yeah. So when you're on ship, when you're rolling up on ship, there's like girls standing on the deal, and they write their phone number on a tennis ball and throw it up there to the ship deck. And if you catch one, supposedly you call the number. But I just heard that.
Yeah. You didn't.
I didn't see any of
you
them.
didn't catch any. Yeah, no.
I didn't catch none.
Yeah.
I didn't see none.
Right. No. Of course
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
And
You're a
so-
gentleman and
Yeah. So we were there. We were in Sydney for 4 days. And then we went to Brisbane for 4 days. They turned us loose again. And then we went to Hawaii for 8 days. They turned us loose again.
What, like, just seriously, like, vacation? Like,
Yeah.
they were just, like, kind of,
Yeah.
good job?
Yeah.
That's
Just straight up
that's
vacation.
16 total days
Yeah.
of just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
After you got done being in that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good time. And then we got back June of 03. And then so funny enough, after that, there's this, it's called a Marine Expeditionary Unit. And so you can volunteer to go on this Marine Expeditionary Unit. So you do a year's worth of special ops training.
Yeah.
And then you get on a boat and you're attached with an infantry unit, and you essentially float around out in the ocean until something pops off, and then you go eliminate the force. There's a helicopter squad, boat squad, and Amtrak squad. So I was on the helicopter squad, and so, but funny enough, I volunteered for it because I didn't want to go back to Iraq. I was like, man, I already went. Like, I want to do something else. Like, let's go somewhere else. And so I volunteered for it, did that year's worth of training. Yeah. That's when the cold weather training was.
Oh.
We did that cold weather training up in the mountains for a month. And for the first 3 weeks, we had a tent with no bottom. Well, the first 2 weeks, we had a tent with no bottom with a little heater. And then week 3, they took the heater away. Week 4, they took our tent away. So we were there for like 3 or 4 days with nothing.
Dang.
15 below.
Oh, wow.
In the mountains.
Where? What mountains?
It's outside of they call it Bridgeport, California. So up around the Tahoe area.
Okay. What mountains is it the
I
Rockies?
don't know what mountain. No, I don't think it's it's not the Rockies.
I didn't know if they circle up there.
Mm-mm.
Anyway.
So we're there for that. For what reason, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Especially since we were going back to dang Iraq.
Right.
But yeah, so that was, one night when we didn't have our tent, a freaking blizzard came through there.
So I remember you told me one time they told you to be at like a comfortable cool. They didn't want you to be too warm.
Yeah.
Was that ever?
They say be comfortably cool. Because if you get hot, you start sweating.
Right.
And if you start sweating, then it'll freeze on you and you'll get cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't really want.
Was that
to sweat.
ever even like an issue, sweating? I mean, like, were you ever comfortable at all?
Yeah, I mean, we had to do a bunch of stuff. We had like cross country skis and had to pull a sled and do.
So you're not just
stuff.
chilling out there. You were like
no, we're doing
and,
like combat training in the mountains.
And you are just also staying there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So
was the food at least?
Cold weather MREs are.
Oh, so you were on MREs?
Yeah.
There's not
cold
like
weather MREs.
There's not like
there's
a
cafeteria.
little bit of
no. I mean, there was down the mountain.
You go hit the ski lodge and.
So the first 2 weeks you're there, they prepare you for what's to come, essentially.
Yeah.
And so there's a really nice chow hall there on the bottom of the mountain. But then once they take you up the mountain, you're not coming down unless you get hypothermia or frostbite.
Yeah.
So, which a few guys had to go down for that.
Did y'all give him a hard time, or was it like?
No, because we had a guy that was out. They say like one of the main deals of hypothermia is like you get a false sense of warmth and your mind is gone, so you like start taking off your clothes and crap.
Oh dang!
And this dude was out there walking around in that blizzard with no shirt on.
Oh jeez!
And I'm like, gosh, dang, dude! Like
one of y'all caught him.
Yeah, so we caught him, and they did have a warming tent up there.
Yeah.
So like if you got in a bind, you could go, but nobody wanted to be the guy that went to the warming tent,
But y'all took him to the warming tent.
He had to go to
Yeah,
the warming
listen,
tent.
bud.
I probably didn't know
So
he was
they-
in the warming tent till it got warm.
Yeah, but they came and got him and took him down the mountain. Like he was in a bad way.
Does that, when you get hypothermia, does it mess with your mind or anything down the road?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
it's like heat stroke.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you're fine after you get it.
But just so long as somebody like
Yeah, so long
somebody
as you don't
catches
die.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, freeze to death.
Lose a toe or two.
So you were in that full training.
Yeah,
for-
years work up of training. So we did all the. So one of the coolest things that we did was, since I was in the helicopter squad, you have to practice if that helicopter goes down in the water, like off the boat.
Yeah.
So they have this deal, they call it the helo dunker. So you go in, and it looks like a big, oversized 55-gallon barrel, and it has a bunch of seats in there like the inside of a helicopter. So they give you a little 5-minute breathing apparatus, and you're in your seat belt and all that stuff. And so they turn this thing upside down and dunk it in the swimming pool.
Okay, wow.
And so you're upside down, and you got, because that's what the helicopter,
Right.
when the helicopter hits the water, it flips upside down. You're supposed to wait until it flips entirely upside down
Okay.
before you start getting out.
I probably wouldn't have waited.
Yeah. So
I'm already dead.
the kicker is that some of these guys that are in this platoon with me cannot freaking swim. Like barely past swim qual. Like I was a swim qual 1 coming out of boot camp. Some of these guys were like barely past 4. And so
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like that means they're not good at swimming.
yeah, so swim qual 4, you pretty much got to walk across the pool with your crap on. That's it. And like hold your breath for,
Yeah.
blow bubbles in the water. Like they do a little bit to swim lessons.
So it's not something they brag about. Yeah, I'm a 4.
No. And so, but there were a couple, so it was a concern. Like there's a diver down at the bottom of the pool in case somebody gets kicked in the face. Because people get to panicking and crap down there.
Yeah.
Just like we were talking about before, the worst thing you can do is panic.
Right.
And so you get down there and they turn you upside down. You put your little breathing deal with it, undo your seatbelt, knock out the window, and get out. So I enjoyed that because I'm that kind of person. But there were a lot of guys that did, like, they were like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But they were in there kicking and freaking like going crazy. And I think one guy had to get pulled out with the diver.
Dang.
Yeah, it's funny.
So you feel like you could have maybe been like a SEAL because of all the water? It just made
I don't know. That's the whole different level. I don't know. I mean, I think that the way my mind works right now, if I decide I'm going to do something, then I can, there's nobody that's going to tell me that I can't do it. So if I was to decide to go that route, then I think I probably could have done it. But that deal's a whole, like even recon Marines and, Army Rangers and that's a whole separate deal.
So how different as far as like recon, for instance, because you said that this is similar to special ops, or it is special ops.
It was special operations capable. So you can.
What else would you have had to done?
Just pass
to be a recon.
Just pass the recon indoc.
Okay.
Like just go and actually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but with our side of it was an added. They call it sappers training, but it's an added like ramped up explosives training.
Gotcha.
So you do a lot more with explosives, det cord, time fuse. Like learn the inner working parts of it. How to time fuse. What's the relative effective force of a stick of C4? Like what's it gonna do when you put it on this?
Yeah.
And how much does it take to do this? And what's your time
So that's
frame?
where you learned most of your explosives training. Gotcha.
Yeah. So even though so going back to the first tours, I got that NAM with a combat V for that blowing that bridge.
Oh, you blew the bridge in the first.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
you had a little bit.
So we go out on Zodiacs and climb up this freaking bridge, and we put 16 satchels of C4.
Seems like a lot.
A bunch.
Okay.
On this freaking bridge, so that each stick is 30 satchels. That's what we did. So there's 16 sticks in each satchel, 1.5 pounds of C4 per stick. So 16 sticks per satchel. We put 10 satchels on each column. Ran all the det cord to it. Put about 15 minutes of time fuse on it. Popped it, got down, got in the boat, and got back up to the shore before it went off.
That's first tour?
That was the first tour. Yeah. Then we did that at night. Under fire.
Under fire.
Yeah.
So you're down there hooking all this C4 up.
Yeah, and they're
while
shooting
people
us.
are shooting at you
doesn't,
at night.
C4 won't go off if you shoot it.
Oh, so it's not kind of like tannerite?
No. So it has to
I
have.
feel like we could have left that detail out.
It has to have heat and compression. So you can stick a block of C4 right here and set it on fire with a lighter, and it's not going to do anything.
I feel like I watched a movie once where it. But anyway.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's why I thought that.
So it takes heat and compression. So if you set it on fire and hit it with a hammer, it's going to go off.
Okay.
So if you shot it, it's not going to do anything.
All right.
But anyway, so we're up there, and I lost a dang, like a Gerber tool up there. I accidentally and we actually dropped a satchel in the water by accident.
Uh-oh.
So one satchel went in the water, so it was actually 29. It was actually 29 satchels instead of 30, but anyway. But so, yeah, we did that, and then I learned more about explode, because I was, in second tour, that was my specific job, is I was attached to an infantry unit as a breach man. Like, I blew open doors.
So the second tour is where you went more like actual door-to-door.
Door-to-door. Yeah, we didn't go, the first tour we didn't really go door-to-door.
Yeah.
Second tour we went like door-to-door.
Yeah.
For days.
So at what point did you find out you thought you were about to be you thought after the years of training, you were like, I'm not going back to Iraq, and then you get out of training.
2 weeks before we left. We actually left early. So we were supposed to leave, and we were supposed to get on ship and head out in late May.
But I'm saying at some point you're like, and there's a point in there where you didn't think you were going back to Iraq.
Yeah, I didn't really think I was going
And
back.
they were like, no.
I thought the only way we would go back is if something weird happened, and we just they ended up just taking us over there.
Was it because you had experience, or everybody was going?
I think just everybody was going.
Really?
Yeah, so we were supposed to leave in late May of 04.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to get on ship and just be out in the ocean for 6 months.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the tour. We were supposed to be back in like November. And so we went, and so at right about the beginning of May, they were like, okay, change of plans. We're leaving in 2 weeks, and we're going straight to Iraq. We're dropping y'all's asses off.
And you on a ship or flying?
On a ship. So I came back on ship the first tour, and I went there on ship.
What's the purpose of that? Because doesn't it take like a long time?
Yeah, it's to take all the crap with you.
Yeah, but
helicopters, Amtraks.
Okay.
Because that's why they do that. It's that Marine Expeditionary Unit. So it's a full fighting force in readiness. Like it just sitting around out in the water.
So when you guys, how long did it take you when you knew you were going straight there?
Not very long.
Oh, like.
Not as long as it took to get home, because we didn't stop it. We stopped in Hawaii.
So like a week?
We stopped in Hawaii, did a little bit of training so they could load up some stuff in Hawaii.
Okay.
And that's it.
But
we didn't.
like a week. How long did it take?
No, it took 3 weeks to a month.
Okay.
I mean, it still takes a
that's what I was
pretty
thinking.
good chunk of time to get
I just
there.
didn't know why maybe they didn't just fly you. But if they want all the equipment, they want the people, everybody to show up at the same time, and it's like
Yeah. Well, and so military ships are different than like what you would
Carnival.
Yeah, like a cruise ship, you're just going to go from point A to point B, and that's it, just in a straight line.
Yeah.
But on a military ship, they actually like kind of do like military
They're trying to be
maneuver.
a little more less predictable.
Yeah, they don't want to go on a straight and narrow because people will
sense.
be able to find you easier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So it takes a little longer to do it like that. But that time we didn't stop anywhere. We didn't stop in. Yeah, we stopped in Hawaii for a couple days, did a little bit of training, got kicked out of a bar, and then
What'd you get kicked out of a bar for?
I don't remember.
Oh, interesting.
And actually, the night before that second tour, the night before, we got in a fight at the bar in California, and got handcuffed, put in the car, and taken to the police station. I was like, oh crap, like we're about to get charged for missing a movement, like we're about to get charged for like not showing up to deployment.
Is that when you
like,
hit a guy in the face with a car antenna?
I didn't do that. that was a different time, but that wasn't me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that wasn't me.
I misremembered it.
Yeah.
So why'd they let you go?
I don't know. But they let us go. They didn't book us.
And by the way, tell them what happened what happened to the guy when he got hit in the face with the car antenna.
Oh, it just laid him smooth open.
Split his face.
Yeah.
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 So anyway, so you were like scared, and they were like they let you go that night though.
Yeah. Yeah. So they let us go, and then
Were you like pleading like, look guys, we're going to Iraq tomorrow?
No, I didn't plead nothing. Like I just sat there. It was me and two other of my buddies that were on the same.
Did you
we were
win
in
the fight?
Platoon. It was a bunch of bouncers. I don't think we ended up winning. No. I think I won in part, but it took about 3 of them to get me down. So I think I won in part, but no, they got me.
Yeah.
They got me at the end. Yeah. I mean, I was roughed up for probably.
What started it? You were just helping your buddies, or vice
So
versa?
it was the end of closing time.
Right.
Everybody's leaving. We step outside, and one of my other buddies is still there paying his tab. Well, the 3 of us are outside. Well, one of us decides that he needs to go back in there and help the other one pay the tab. And I'm like, man, you don't, like. But he, by God, freaking decides he's going in there.
Yeah.
And so these bouncers kind of start shoving him and messing with him. And so the guy at the bar paying the tab sees this, and he goes over there to instigate with the bouncers. And so they get him hemmed up, and then my other buddy's like, oh, his first name was Curtis. They got Curtis. So we freaking bust up in there, bust up in that place and just start, trying to roll people. And so that's how it was over. Just a silly freaking, just being stupid, Everybody had too much to drink.
I understand.
Just being plain old stupid.
Yeah. So, I imagine you need to go to the bathroom.
I could pee.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to pee before we finish talking about We got to talk about the second tour, and we got to talk about rodeo.
Yeah, we got to get to the rodeo part. How long we been doing this?
An hour and 24 minutes.
Yeah, turn the screen towards us.
Yeah. And we're back.
Yeehaw.
So, you can turn the AC off again.
New
I'm
batteries.
trying to forget
It's
what we were.
cold in here. We're about to get started talking about the second tour.
Not as cold as Bridgeport.
It's like
Not as
watching
cold
Band of Brothers. What do you say? When it gets cold at night, he's like, I'm just glad I'm not in, what was it?
Bastogne.
Bastogne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a meme I posted one time. It was like, your grandpa thought it was cold too, but they warmed themselves up by getting shot at by artillery or something like that.
Whenever I think I'm cold, I always I think about what's the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, The Revenant. The Revenant. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
Where he's up and he's in the cold and he has to like slide down into that freezing river to hide from the Indians.
Ooh.
And then doesn't he cuts open an animal and sleeps in there?
His horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of that package, that winter, part of that winter package in Bridgeport, like if you're in the longer package, like the cold training longer deal, they make you cut a damn hole in the eye, or they blow a hole in that, because we did some demolition, like caused some avalanches and like blew holes in the ice and stuff like that. But they make you get in that sucker and then get out, like get in the water.
You got it figured out. We're trying to listen to Ross's story. Be done with that damn rapper.
They make you get in the water and then get out and like survive.
Yeah.
That would be just.
Oh, you didn't have to do that.
No, we didn't do that part of it. We were only in the month. That's like the 2-month. That's like the 2-month package. That's like the big boys.
Yeah.
Cold weather training. That's for like the instructors and stuff.
Gotcha.
So anyway,
you were on the ship. You stopped in Hawaii, grabbed some supplies, and you go back to Iraq. You had no intention, or you didn't think you were going to have to go back.
Right.
And then, so what was did you know what you were going to be doing the second tour?
No
You
idea.
thought it might be like a 3-week deal like the first tour?
We didn't know. We had no clue. We didn't know what was going on. We knew when we got there, we didn't spend any time in Kuwait, which we didn't need to at that point, because by that point, we had been in Iraq for, let's see, it was June of 04, so we had been in that, the United States had been in Iraq for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So now it was no longer no showers, crap in a hole in the ground, just that kind of stuff, too.
Oh, that's
Now
right.
they
Your
had-
first tour, like, even if
There
you
was
did have
nothing.
time to go back and sleep somewhere, there was nowhere to go
There
sleep.
was nothing.
So you didn't
There's
have time
nowhere
to do
crap.
that anyway.
There's nowhere to.
But you didn't have. There was no setup.
That's what
or,
Ashley asked me, like, when did you brush your teeth? I was like, we didn't have time to brush our gosh dang teeth.
you didn't have a toothbrush.
And then somebody asked me one time something about like hearing loss and stuff. I was like, why didn't y'all wear earplugs? I was like, I didn't have time to say, wait a second, quit shooting at me. Let me put my earplugs in.
Why did y'all wear earplugs?
The Ashley said something about the brushing the teeth thing. I was like, we didn't have freaking time. Like, I got an hour of sleep a day if I was lucky. I didn't waste my time brushing my damn teeth.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, and we were actually taking the blue malaria pill things, like, what's it called? Like, because everybody was talking about how it, like, cured COVID and all that stuff. Hydroxychloroquine, or is that what it's called?
Ivermectin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But anyway, so we had to take these pills every day, and actually, it kind of kept your body pretty clean. I mean, we didn't shower for a month.
Yeah.
Or more.
Right.
And so it just, kind of kept your body clean.
Yeah, but you
anyway,
had enough room to get away from people.
Yeah.
So,
bet
8
the
guys
back
in an
of that
Amtrak.
Oh man.
Oh man, I bet that thing
Imagine-
stunk.
can't even
Yeah,
imagine
but
the smell.
when you're wearing that chemical suit, nothing's getting out. Nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out. So it's you're not stinking.
Right.
I mean, to a certain extent, I'm sure it did to the normal person.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody would have come straight out of here and stepped into that Amtrak, I'm sure it was a little rough.
Yeah, but like when you live in it, you're kind of
When
a
you
little
live
bit
in
used
it,
to
yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's like a cat lady.
So
She
the
doesn't know her
second
house
time-
stinks until somebody says it.
exactly.
yeah. So the second time, there was already stuff established, so we actually got to stay. I mean, it was still tents, but it was nicer tents, and you actually had a bunk to sleep in, and
Yeah.
like they had a chow hall, and when we got to Najaf.
So there were guys there, and it was kind of like welcome back.
Yeah,
and-
so it was a base. Like they had set up a base, you
Yeah.
know, and so yeah, we went to Najaf, but it was a lot different. You know, there was a camp there.
yeah.
So we went there. They said, you know, there's some stuff going on here. There's some, you know, insurgents and stuff kind of reoccupied the area. There's a few guys we need to get out of here. We're going to stay here. Y'all are going to stay here in Najaf and patrol. Essentially, what we want you to do is go stir up the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Like, go stir up the hornet's nest, see where they are, figure out what's going on. Because they had reoccupied the city.
Yeah.
Go stir it up, see what's going on. At the same time, try to train these freaking Iraqi nationals to get them to. That's where I told you the story about they were supposed to help us on a raid.
Oh,
And
yeah.
bullets started flying,
the
and
hotel?
they hightailed it.
Was it the hotel?
No, it was the hospital and the
Hospital.
We were supposed to. First thing we were supposed to, because we figured out where this guy was staying, Zerkawi, I think they called him or something, but we figured out where his house was, and then we figured out where they were holding up was in a hospital, like right next to his house. We were going to go do the raid the next morning. He got tipped off. He wasn't there. We got there, bullets started flying. They freaking hightailed it.
The guys that
And
were
so-
supposed to help you.
Yeah.
So then y'all had to clear out this hospital by yourself.
Yeah.
How many of y'all
Yeah.
was it?
75 of us.
And how many people were in the hospital?
I don't remember. It was...
But that's when the lights were out.
Yeah, the light. No, the lights weren't out on this one. No, the lights were out on the hotels on the other side of
Okay, so there was a
Najaf
hotel.
Cemetery. So here's a little background deal on Najaf Cemetery that probably not everybody knows, but it's the world's largest cemetery.
Yeah.
It covers over like 1,400 acres,
Dang.
and it's nothing but tombs, catacombs, headstones, close enough to each other where you can't walk a straight line. You can't just take off and walk. It's not like here where you can.
Yeah.
There's grass everywhere, and you know,
Yeah.
and everybody's spaced out about this far.
Yeah.
I mean, they're this far apart. I mean, every freaking way. Like if you Google it and look at an aerial map, it's freaking like.
So you're
So-
which one out of the hospital? How long did that take?
Oh, that only took like 15 minutes. That
Okay.
That wasn't a big deal at all. We really didn't need them.
Yeah.
They were kind of along for the ride. They were supposed to be learning how to do this shit. But
Yeah. How long was the tour total? The
so
second.
the second tour was 9 months.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought they were both 9 months.
So the first one was short. It was
Yeah.
for the whole amount of time. It was like 6 months long. But we
Yeah.
were only fighting for like a month.
Yeah.
The second time was 9 months, and I was fighting the whole damn time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So the second tour was actually where I saw the most action. The first tour was all brand new,
right.
so you get your experience from that. And the second tour was far worse. I mean, the amenities were better. We had a place to sleep. We got we got plenty of rest, plenty of something to eat. There wasn't a lack of water. We had ice. We had, like all,
But it was
all
more
that
than-
stuff was better.
6 firefights.
But it was it was almost every day. Yeah. Damn. Well, not. So it went in spurts. So the first thing we did was that Najaf deal.
Yeah.
And so we went in, stirred up the hornet's nest, figured out where they were, did a couple raids, we were supposed to be there till it was supposed to take us like 4 months to do all that.
How long
It took
did
us like a month and a half.
Yeah.
So after that, we were done
And
with
that's
that.
just about every day.
Well, that was when that cemetery. So we got on the. So we figured out where they were. They consolidated in some mosques and hotels on the far end of that cemetery, and also inside the cemetery. They were in there, in the tombs and in the like hiding out and stuff. So we had to start at one end of the cemetery, and we went in shifts. So my my unit would go, and we'd spend a week and push through that cemetery and get so far. It was like a big line. We just push through, and as we were going through, the army was coming in behind us to make sure nobody got back in.
Yeah.
And so you push through, and then in a week, another group comes and relieves you. And so you get about, 3 or 4 days off. You're still patrolling and doing that kind of thing. But so.
And is that kind of like where they were hiding? Like when the first, is it this, they're just like down in the hole shooting up?
Yeah. Well, but this time there were snipers in the hotels on the far end of the cemetery. So as you're walking through these, trying to maneuver your way through these tombstones and stuff, they're shooting at you from the hotels on the other side. Dang. So, and if, they were hitting us.
What kept y'all from just blowing up the hotels?
There was mosques over there, and you can't touch them. As Americans, you can't freaking touch them. You can't touch hospitals. You can't touch mosques.
Dang.
You can't freaking touch them. So they can get you. If they're there, they can get you.
Geneva Convention?
Yeah. And they will hang you out to dry if you do.
Wow.
But we're the only ones that do that. I mean, we're the only, like, they don't play by the rules. We do. It's kind of like being in a fight with somebody and it would be like fighting a mixed martial artist as a boxer. But you can only use boxing rules and he can use anything he wants.
Yeah.
That's essentially how it is.
You better be a damn good boxer.
You better be a damn, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get there. And so we get to the other side and clear out the hotels and all that stuff. We stay in those hotels for probably 3 or 4 days. And then that deal's done. They settle up and peace treaty and whatever they need to settle up with the gangs and the tribes and whatever is in there. And so Najaf is over with. And so we go back to the camp and kind of sit around and train or whatever for probably... Let's see, it's probably mid-August. We probably sit around and train and run patrols and train them Iraqi nationals some more for a month and a half or so. And they're like, hey, we're going back in, because Fallujah at this point was getting pretty bad. Because they were getting back in there. They had re-gotten Fallujah. And it had gotten pretty bad. So at this point they were like, hey, y'all are going to Fallujah. Y'all are going to go to Camp Fallujah and, get used to some stuff and hang around for a couple weeks. We're going to send out these flyers and say, hey, we're coming in here to eliminate the force. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. Pretty much anybody that's still here is going to be considered hostile. And so they did that. I think they gave them like 3 weeks to get out. And so, I mean, there still ended up being some people there that didn't leave. It's like telling people to evacuate for a hurricane. Like there's always going to be people that stay.
Right.
So you kind of had to be wary of that. Most of them had like white flags outside in front of their house and stuff to like say, hey, I'm not trying to do anything. And so then, Fallujah 2 pops off. So we roll into there, and that's when... So I missed the first 3 days of fighting for Fallujah 2 because I was in that Amtrak rollover. And so...
What happened there?
so we were rolling in. It was dark. We went in at nighttime, and the Amtrak driver was on the edge of the road, and there was another one, I guess, up in front of him. We were in the back. I don't know. I didn't see any of it because I was in the back. There was, me and another 7 guys, and I'm sitting up. So we have all this, all these cases of demo and stuff, C4 and, whatever else, all our detonating devices and all that stuff are all in cases, big cases, sitting on the ground, and I'm sitting on that. Everybody else is sitting on benches. And so this Amtrak, he goes around somebody, and it's about a 15-foot drop off the side of that road. And so it inches over, and we kind of feel it go. And I was like, okay, he caught it. He's going to get it back. And then it just goes, the whole thing. The whole thing goes over, and I end up I was laying like this, pinned to the side of the deal, and all that demo that I was sitting on was on top of me. It was probably 600 pounds of stuff.
Golly.
Just laying on top of me. And so it lays over, and so they got there's a little bitty small hatch.
We're missing
out
Ross.
the back. And so they all get out, and they had to walk over the top of all that stuff to pull it all out to get me out. And so at this point, I'm like, when we first did it, I was like, did we go down in some freaking water? Is this some bitch about to fill up with water? And I can't move. This is what's running through my head. I'm like, ooh, I hope they get me out of here. That sucker's going to fill up with water, and I'm toast. And so, but anyway, I kind of hear him scurrying around, and I can hear him moving around. And so I know there's no water coming in, but so then they have to walk. It took them probably 20 minutes to get me out.
Golly.
They had to pull out. They were walking over the top of me, pulling all that stuff out. And so they finally got me out, and I had a pretty severe contusion on my left leg, and so I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
And so they medevaced me out, which I didn't really want to. I wasn't bad enough off that I thought I needed to go.
Yeah.
To the hospital or whatever. But so they took me anyway. But so and then when I got there, it just kind of makes you feel, because there's dudes in there that are way worse off than me, and that were coming in there, because Fallujah 2 just popped off at that moment, and so there were guys freaking coming in there.
Yeah.
And I'm in there with a freaking bruised leg, I'm sitting there feeling like a freaking sissy.
Yeah.
All these other guys are coming in either
missing
not making
parts.
it or missing body. Yeah.
Dang.
And so, but so I had to sit for a couple days, and then they took me back out there, and I went back with my unit after about two or 3 days. So I didn't. So for Fallujah 2, I didn't actually see the first couple days of fighting, but then once I got back, they had already kind of established a home base.
Uh-huh.
And so we would, we'd stay at the home base at night, and then during the day we'd go out and clear house. So we cleared houses from mid-October to a little bit before Christmas. So for probably close to 2 months, we were clearing houses every day, all day, every day.
What did each day look like?
So
It was like a normal day of that.
Most of it was just finding a lot of explosives and stuff. We captured a lot of people that didn't have weapons on them, so they just ended up being prisoners of war. But
was there any little fighters that tried to?
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, yeah. I mean, probably at least once a day you're gonna run into somebody. And what the deal is with those is those houses are all kind of interconnected with each other. They know them. We don't.
Right.
They know where the doors are. They know where the hallways are. They know where all those houses are like, like here, your neighbor's at least 100 foot probably away.
Yeah.
50 foot away. But here, they're they're wall to wall. So, and families interact with different families, and they got doors open to different houses. I mean, you can go in right here and weave around and come out over here.
Yeah.
And it'll be freaking 20 houses in a block.
Wow.
And they'll
So
be moving all
clearing
around.
a house is a little more complicated than what we would think clearing a house here is like. It's not like 3 minutes and you're done. Yeah.
Well, it can be. Some of them it is.
Yeah.
And so it's just and then when you get through clearing an area, sometimes you got to go back and re-clear because they'll get back in there. And so it's just kind of.
Is that the time when you won the medal?
Yeah. So that day, my platoon commander went with us. He just decided he wanted to go with us that day, which is whatever. He was really really good platoon commander, so I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
So he went with us. We kind of made a mistake. I made a mistake and came out into the road, and we were just kind of standing there looking at where we needed to go next. And one of our other squads was a little bit down the way. Fire team was a little bit down. It was just me and my fire team. So me and 3 other guys, and then my platoon commander. So there was 5 of us. So another fire team was down the way a little bit, and we heard some shots popping off, whatever. And sometimes, like, you go into a house, shots pop off, the force gets eliminated. It's not that big of a deal. You hear shots popping off down the street pretty much every day. You don't really think anything of it.
Right.
It may make you a little bit more aware of, like, okay, they're here.
Right.
We got to keep our head on a swivel. But other than that, it's not anything to get extremely alarmed about. You're not like thinking, okay, here they freaking come. And so we're just still standing out in the street. That's my bad. But so 2 of them come down the street. So it's kind of hard to lay it out, but so the bottom floors of these buildings a lot, they're kind of set up like shopping malls. So there's a hallway that tees in the inside underneath the big building.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're standing out in the street, and they come around the corner, and I'm the closest one to the corner, probably from me to that wall, is the first guy that comes out. Maybe
5
just
yards.
maybe just a hair further, maybe
less than
7
that.
yards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 5 to 7 yards. And so it's 2 of them. They come around the corner, and I don't really register it right away for whatever reason. And so they start shooting before I even get my gun up. Like I'm like kind of in shock, like they got me, like they surprised me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. And so
I can imagine.
So they start shooting. The closest
What
one
did that
to
sound
me.
like? A little
Well,
more intense than the going through the weeds.
Yeah, so you hear the report. If it doesn't get you, you hear the report. I mean, it's, and so even
I don't
if
mean
it does,
to laugh. It's
even
just
if it does get you, and you don't die, you're gonna hear the report. I mean,
Yeah.
and so, but you're gonna know you got if you got got.
Yeah.
And so he's standing, right there, and misses me. Probably gets off. I mean, he's got an AK, and they're fully automatic, so he probably gets off 5 or 6 shots before I even raise to shoot. And so he smooth misses me, but I don't miss him. and I had a 12 gauge with double aught in it,
Oh, dang.
buckshot, and I hit him. I mean, right where it needed to be,
Yeah.
right in the melon.
Oh, in the
And so-
melon.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. I mean, I hit it right in the face,
Yeah.
and so he went. So he went down, and so the other guy took off around the other side.
He didn't
done.
want-
I'm done.
The other guy took off around the other side, but when I turned around, 2 of my guys had been hit. So one of my guys got hit in the shoulder, which he was fine. You know, he could still function, but Captain Colt was down. I mean, he was down.
Yeah.
He got hit in the side because he was turned, and so it hit him in the right butt cheek and went through the left, went all the way through the left, and then one went through the back of his helmet,
Oh.
hit the back of his helmet and went through and didn't hit him. But so he was down. So I got him up. So at the same time that I was getting him up and over to the corner or over to a spot to get on the radio and call the medevac, I knew that other guy was going to come around in that hallway that tees right there. So I told those other guys to get in that hallway and face that other way. And sure enough, he came around there and they waylaid him right there. I mean, he didn't have a freaking chance in hell.
Yeah.
But so they got him.
Yeah.
And so then we medevaced and got Captain Colt out of there, so it had been a group of 4 guys. So our other fire team had got 2 of them before they all got out of there.
Gotcha.
And then the other 2 they were probably just as surprised as we were when they rounded that
Gotcha.
corner. But it was kind of, it was one of those deals that it probably could have been prevented. I mean, it's weird situations.
Well, why didn't if the platoon commander is technically your boss?
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was standing there too.
But he was just with me because I was the fire team leader, so he was
just kind of letting you take the lead.
Yeah.
He probably though, as a leader himself, he probably took responsibility too.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
I mean, he wrote up that citation.
Yeah.
For the medal, so
yeah. Yeah, that seems like, especially your second tour, you'd been in your second tour a while. It's down the street.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine like you guys are just like, oh, they got it, no big deal. And who would have thought? It's just probably by chance that them guys came around the corner.
Yeah,
they could have gone any direction.
They could have gone anywhere.
They probably, if they were fleeing, they obviously weren't looking for more of y'all.
No,
Otherwise,
they were trying to get the hell out of there.
Otherwise, they would have just stayed and fought them first guys.
Yeah.
Why do you think that guy came back? The other one, if they were running.
I think he was trying to sneak around and try to get and do exactly what I thought he was gonna do.
Yeah.
He was trying to get around the back of us.
Be a little hero.
Yeah.
In his little twisted way.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Yeah, he was trying to get around the back on us.
So that was in that 2 months right before Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then after that, we just kind of, just kept clearing houses until pretty much Fallujah was back to where it needed to be. And then we just kind of sat around at Camp Fallujah until...
If you had 6 in your first, how many do you think you had in your second?
How many firefights?
Yeah.
Oh, probably at least 20.
Dang.
Little small skirmishes. None of them were as big as some of those ones. Like we weren't.
Some of the 6.
Yeah, other than, because since I missed that first 3 days of Fallujah 2, there wasn't. Other than.
Was that like intense? You've said that the way you worded it a couple of times. Was the first 3 days like super intense or something?
Yeah, it's usually when the most stuff goes down. Because after that, everybody scatters.
Gotcha.
Because they all scatter back into their. Because when you know you're
Does
coming.
it bother you or something?
Does what bother me?
Like you had wished you had been in there those
Yeah,
first...
yeah.
Do you feel like that that like maybe God had a plan? I mean, definitely God had a plan.
Yeah.
Is it
I mean, he
crushing?
always does, but
Like,
yeah.
like, hey, you're not supposed to, especially since it was a contusion, like, you're not supposed to be here these 3 days.
Yeah, but I don't know why. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you'll never know why.
Right.
But
That's where my mind went the moment,
yeah.
I completely forgot about that
Well,
part
it makes
of your story. But just now when you retold me, I was just like, oh, yeah, the Lord didn't want Ross there them 3 days.
Yeah, it's hard to, as a fighter.
Right.
It's
I can
hard
imagine.
to let your guys go into that when you don't think that you're all that bad hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Within the next day, I was up, like I wasn't 100%,
Yeah.
but I was able to,
Right.
like I didn't get shot. I didn't get, anything like that. It wasn't.
Not similar at all, but just more the similarity is God's plan. But like whenever I got hurt in Austin, and had to have surgery or whatever.
Yeah.
It just that's where eventually at the time I was super down, but my mind went, it was like I was just hurt enough that I couldn't ride for a while, but I was still able to do all these other things. And like that was where my mind went. It was like God had this plan. It was clearly something that was part of his plan, because I had no control over what happened in that buck and shoot that like put me down, kind of like you in the Amtrak. It's like you're not even it's not like you did anything wrong. Like you just were this, victim of this accident.
I was just
essentially.
in it. Yeah.
And even out of the 8 guys, you're the one guy that lands under 600 pounds of equipment. But anyway, I can imagine that would, especially just, you got to just sit in a hospital as if that's not boring enough anyway. But knowing your 7 closest buddies who you've been next to for however long are out there fighting for their life, that would be tough.
Yeah,
but,
and I'm sitting there.
But you were back in it 3 days, 72 hours, you're back in it.
Yeah, back in it, and we finished it out and went to, flew back, and then I just started processing my stuff and got out in May of 2005 and started getting on bucking horses.
I'm sure they were recruiting you hard to stay in, huh?
Yeah.
How tough is that where they're like, they don't want you to leave? Like, are they pretty, do they press on you like?
They press on you a little bit, especially if they want you to stay. There's guys that they don't press on at all, but if they want you to stay, like if you're really good at it, if you're good at your job and you've got some experience, especially like with guys like that were in my same deal, like if you're, like by this time you've got a lot of combat experience.
Right.
And you've got, in your job, you've got a lot of explosives experience. You've got some things there that guys that are coming in don't freaking have. They just don't have it. And so.
So if there's an Amtrak of 8, they want you to be one of them.
Yeah.
And if there's 5 or 6 of them that are new, they're like, well, let's put this guy in with these newbies.
Yeah. Naturally.
Right.
I mean, you're going to want somebody there that's done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like playing sports and going to the playoffs and going with a brand new team and nobody on the team's ever been to the freaking Super Bowl.
Were you with some guys, your second tour, were you with some guys that were new?
So
what was that like?
That were new? No. Everybody. So that second platoon was by far, I mean, there were some freaking shooters in that sucker. Like, that was by far the best platoon that I was in, just because it was designed that way. Like, it was put together that way on purpose. Right. Like, it was all people that had already been to combat and that were successful in that. Like, it was.
Gotcha.
And it was a platoon of everybody. So there were people. So 3 squads of it were combat engineers, explosive guys like me, and then 1 squad of it was made up of comm guys, motor T guys that worked on vehicles, track mechanics, Amtrak mechanics, like that could actually do, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they had a little bit of combat experience too, because they had been in it a little bit before. They weren't like blowing open doors, kicking down doors type, but they had already been in it before.
Yeah.
You know, had at least seen some combat. Like a couple of them were heavy equipment operators, like, you know, building, all that kind of stuff.
Did you have pretty much the same guys around you day to day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same 8 guys.
Why did they call you Crash?
I wrecked a Humvee in Humvee training course.
Uh-huh.
And then, so my first tour, when we kind of got established, we were doing some patrols, and I was a Humvee driver, and I drove some people around.
Yeah.
And they don't drive over there like we drive over. There's no road
Etiquette.
signs, there's no stoplights, they just kind of go.
Yeah.
And there's wrecks all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And so, but they'll kind of just go where they want to, and I'd take that Humvee and just freaking ram it up
Go
their
where
ass.
you want to.
Like, I just freaking go.
Yeah.
Like, I'd hit people. Not like people standing on the road, but if they were getting in my, like...
I was about to say, like Grand Theft Auto?
No.
Version, or?
No, like, if they were in my way in a vehicle, like, I'd just freaking hit them and keep on going.
Yeah.
Because that thing wasn't, you weren't going to stop that hunt. It was a fully armored one with a 50 cal mount on top.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't going to stop that thing.
Your second tour, the first firefight in your second tour, did you have kind of that? So you kind of take a break from rodeo, whether you get hurt or whatever, you get back on. There's like those little butterflies like in the chute.
Yeah.
Your first firefight of your second tour, was there kind of that feeling?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, and I think I told you about it. The first time that we actually got shot at on my second tour was in Najaf when we were training those freaking guys. And they were sitting in there. They had a little compound that they stayed in. And so we were patrolling at night. And these suckers were up there at the top of the building shooting at us on freaking patrol. The people were the guys that we were training. The Iraqi nationals.
They didn't know, or they just turned on you?
I think they knew.
Oh.
I think they knew. But that's the thing about it is you can't, because they would leave, like, they'd leave one day with an AK and then come back the next day and say, "Oh, I lost it." Yeah, you lost it. You gave it to old Uncle whoever over there.
Did y'all give them those?
Those AKs? Yeah. I mean, they were issued to them. They were supposed to be like Iraqi National Guard. They're like supposed to be fighting for. And they would get in fights with the Iraqi police. The two groups. They'd get in fights amongst themselves. Like, just, you roll up to a police station, and there they were shooting each other. Like, what are y'all doing, man?
Right.
Like, y'all are on the same damn team.
Yeah.
But over there, like, it's all about tribes. Like, if you're a certain tribe, like, they don't care. They don't give a crap Iraqi nothing. Like, we're like Americans. Like,
right.
If you're American, you're freaking American. Like,
right.
That's just what it is. Over there, they don't give a crap about Iraq. It's all about the tribes. Dang. So if one tribe gets in a fight with another tribe, doesn't matter if you're police, National Guard, whoever on the street with a gun, like, you do whatever you got to do, I guess. But yeah, so that's the first time we got shot at. Was they were in the building shooting at us as we were patrolling.
Did you ever have to fight anybody like hand to hand?
No, I didn't. Mm-mm.
Where was it that you were behind the guy who did?
That was in one of those hotels on the far side of that cemetery.
And the lights were out then,
yeah,
right?
because it was completely dark. And he just ran into him and stuck a K-bar in the side of his head.
A knife right in his.
Yeah.
So it happened fast enough you didn't have to help him.
Freaking 18-year-old kid, man. That's upper level.
Shit. It happened fast enough you didn't have to help him.
No. Yeah. And I was about 3 people back, so it wasn't like I was right up on him, but like they just ran into each other in the hallway, and he freaking just wow.
The
But as
18-year-old.
How
Yeah.
do you even have those instincts?
as a freaking like straight out. I mean he was in the infantry, so like he was straight out of not far. I mean a couple months out of SOI.
Oh, he'd only been there for.
He was a
months.
private PFC maybe, like he
Maybe 19.
maybe, yeah, probably 18.
Did you ever talk to him?
No.
Yeah.
Cause he wasn't in my, like I was attached to that infantry unit,
Yeah.
but he wasn't in my.
But he had a little bit of combat experience. I mean, obviously, if y'all been clearing out the.
Yeah,
So,
but that
like-
was his first tour. That was his first deal. Like that
Damn.
was. Yeah, that's
Damn.
crazy, man. To think about that
and
kind of
the
stuff.
lights were out.
Yeah, it was completely.
So
dark.
he didn't know he was gonna. I mean, it's not like he saw this coming.
No. I mean, he saw it when it like when you have like when you're this close to somebody, you see him and you're like, "Ooh, that's not the guy that's supposed to be that close to me."
And then, do y'all have a handgun on you?
No,
Okay.
I had a shotgun, so no.
But I'm saying, did he?
Mm-mm.
He
So
would have just
basic,
had a M4.
just an M16, yeah.
M16.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he went for the knife. I mean, obviously, he just has his only option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you carry a it's essentially a K. I mean, K-bar makes them, but they're built as attachments like a bayonet. Yeah, so essentially it's a bayonet, but
That's some life experience.
you ain't never gonna get again, ever,
I can't imagine.
unless you go to prison. But
Or somebody breaks in your house, I guess.
yeah,
I can't imagine, like, I mean, because, like, if he doesn't, it's you're fighting for your life, like, hand to hand.
yeah. I mean, it's you or him.
It's crazy how different those two things. Like, when you're fighting for your life with a gun, like, even just as close as you were to that other guy,
Yeah.
like, it's like you're both. I mean, that's a gunfight. That's you still got to have the mental clarity.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, like, when you're using hands on somebody, that's a whole different ball game.
It's kill or be killed.
I cannot
That's it.
imagine.
There's no other option.
I talked to a cop last night at Carter's wedding.
Yeah.
And he was telling me 15 minutes he wrestled with a guy in the bar ditch on I-20 because that's how far away.
Really?
But for 15 minutes this guy was high. And he was like, "Man, I got a gun. And if I lose, he takes a gun, he kills. I'm fighting for, and I was just thinking about it last night, and just the thought of fighting like literally for your life with someone.
Yeah.
That's a little different, kinda. But anyway, how long was that fight in that hotel?
That one we were there. Once we got to the hotels, we stayed at those hotels for about 2 or 3 days. And so we just kind of stayed in a room, essentially, like
What's the
not like in a. It wasn't like staying at, Motel 6.
Right,
Like
right.
It was. It was blown. It was halfway blown up. No lights, no
Yeah.
plumbing, no.
But you stayed in it?
We stayed in there to, like, the windows were busted out, so we stayed in there as like, security almost.
Gotcha.
So we were like watching the area.
Gotcha.
Watching the
The
Graveyard.
mosque and all that. Yeah.
At what point do you feel like you were the most, I don't want to say fearful, but like, what instance was it where you were the closest to like, I might not make it out of this one?
Probably that. with Captain Colt and all that.
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
like as close
When he
as
came
that
around the
was.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I kind of expected to. Once he started shooting and I hadn't shot yet, I kind of expected to get hit.
This is it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't necessarily think like this is it because you know me, like I'm not
Right.
like you better freaking come on with it. Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna.
Yeah, not like it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't thinking like it's over, but like if
Yeah, that's what. Well,
dang
like
moment.
Ashley gives me a hard time because she says I'm kind of cocky in that sense. But like, I'm not saying I'm not gonna get my ass whipped, but you better freaking come with it.
yeah.
Like if you're gonna get me, like you better come on with it then, cause
Right.
I'm not gonna stop.
Don't just kinda.
Yeah.
Don't
If you like, I'm
You're
not
not gonna
saying.
kinda get me.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't whip my ass, but you gon'
It's gonna take everything you got.
Yeah,
you
gonna
probably
put-
won't enjoy it.
you're gonna have to put some effort in it.
Yeah, yeah. What movie is most spot on with your experience?
Oh, let's see.
Or can you really even watch them?
I can watch them a little bit. It just kind of depends on the situation, you know. That Chris Kyle movie is pretty. Not necessarily his situation because
Right.
obviously I wasn't a sniper, but a lot of the stuff I can kind of. The guys that were on the ground, I can kind of resonate with, you know.
When he went down in there with them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Were there guys like sorry. There was one point where like a spotter or something was just like refused to. Were there guys like that?
Refusing to do stuff. I mean, there were guys that locked up. Mostly in my first tour, so that didn't really happen. Like I was saying with
Yeah, because they cherry
second
picked
tour.
for the second one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they picked a team. Like
Gotcha.
it was
That would be
the-
a good
the-
feeling.
The best platoon commander, the best platoon sergeant. I mean, those two guys. I still, you know, my platoon's Gunny Fleming. I'm friends with him on Facebook. Like I still chit chat with him back and forth. You know, like those guys were like they were it.
Going
Like,
into the
if you-
second one, you were probably I can assume that like sorry, you were saying if you what? Going into it, you said if you what?
You mean like just
Those two guys.
Yeah, I mean like if you really sat down and looked at it, that whole platoon was comprised of guys that had already done it and that were pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
So they've either seen it or, I mean, there were a couple guys in there that already had Purple Hearts and like, so I mean, it was nothing.
You knew your back was covered.
Yeah.
So, like,
there was no questions there.
When
There
you
was
when you
no-
had the first one, it's like, man, I'm nervous about going and fight. I don't even know what to expect.
Because
The
nobody
second one,
knows.
You're like, I know what to expect. I'm still kind of nervous. Yeah, but look at who I'm going with.
Exactly.
Right.
You know the guys that you're going with are like almost the best that you could be going with, and then you just did a year's worth of training with them, so you saw them in that training and put in those pressure situations for a year, so you know what they're capable of.
Were there
you know.
special ops guys around y'all?
There were special ops guys training us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of them they had just as much. You had just as much experience as they did.
Yeah. They just did it in a little different.
They took a few different tests.
Yeah. So there were some.
And had different training.
Yeah, and so there were some SEALs and stuff like that and there were some recon Marines on that boat with us that went to Iraq. So I worked with them a little bit, like I did a little bit of breach work for them, you know, blowing open some doors and stuff. So we kind of worked a little bit hand in hand, but I didn't have the title, they did.
Right.
You know, it's kind of.
But I imagine like once like the first shot's fired.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either like I said, kill or be killed. Like you either do it or you don't.
I imagine today in 2021, like there's a lot of different people in a room with military guys where they're like, it's like a lot of levels.
There's a lot of levels
of like
there.
this guy's, fought this much. This guy's maybe brand new, but like in 2002, 3, and 4, it's like there's not that many levels. It's like you've either fought or you haven't.
Yeah.
And if you have and you're still alive, then you're good enough to be still alive.
Yeah, and there's different levels of that too. There's guys that didn't see much stuff, and there's guys that saw a lot, and there's guys that were really, really good at it, and there's guys that weren't probably so good at it. But like you're real shooters, like you're guys that were like no crap, like in it, and were good at it, and would probably still be good at it today. You'll never know unless you sit down, and talk to them about it. Like we were at Carter's, and one of the guys that was with her brother, like, came up to me or whatever, and I guess Carter kind of told him that I was a Marine or whatever, and he was like, oh, so you were a Marine? I was like, yeah. I shook his hand and said whatever, and I had talked to him the night before, and he was like, oh, why didn't you say anything? I was like, like, I'm not gonna, I don't introduce myself as that. That's not how I identify myself. I'm Ross Sherrod first.
Yeah.
Like, I love Jesus, I love my wife, I love my family. All that other stuff is just gifts from God. Like, to be able to do that and come out on the other side of it and have the mentality I have now about it is, it's a gift. Like, there's not a whole lot of people that, and that's, I've talked to Ashley about this too, but like because a lot of times I feel like that I was just the one that happened to be put in that situation, and so how I reacted to it may be set apart from other people, but maybe not really. Nobody knows until they actually get into that situation. You see a lot, especially on social media and stuff like that. It was like, oh, I would have shot that son.
Yeah.
You're like, you think so? You think so until you get in that. But like everybody, it seems like, and it's been more and more because it's more embellished. Like there's distinct sides of gun control and non-gun control and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the people on the gun side, some of them act like they're in a freaking hurry to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's never I don't want to freaking shoot anybody.
Right.
Like first thing, if you have the gun, you better know how to use the son of a gun.
Yeah.
2, if you shoot somebody, it's not like the police are just going to be like, oh, you're good.
Right.
You're going to have to go do some questioning. They're probably going to take your gun away.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go sit in a police station for a while.
Right.
You're going to have to explain what the hell you did. Like, it's a whole freaking deal. And then you took somebody's life.
Yeah, now you got to deal with that.
Then you got to deal with that. Then you got to deal with, are you going to get sued by their family? You got to deal with charges coming off that. Like, heck no, man. Like, and then the thing of taking somebody else's life. That's not really something that you essentially want to be in charge. Like, you talk to cops and stuff. They're not in a hurry to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Like, they will if they have to protect themselves. It goes back to that kill or be killed thing, but like, I hope people get to a point where they can realize you don't really want to get in a hurry to, if he comes in my backyard, I'm going to shoot him. If you shoot somebody in the back, in your backyard, and you're standing in the house and they don't have any guns or anything, you are going to jail.
Right.
Prison.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's not,
Yeah.
You
better be good with them hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I've got some that I've never shot. I would.
What?
guns.
Oh,
I've got some that I've never
shot
shot.
people.
I've just never. I just got no desire.
Yeah.
I want to have it because
Yeah, in
it's
case
better to
you
have
need
it
it.
and not need it
Yeah.
than need it and not have it. But
I mean, if you got a pistol in the house with home defense rounds, that's what it's designed to do. You don't really want to shoot it any other time unless you're practicing.
yeah,
You know, and if you do have to shoot it with those home defense rounds in it, it's not a good deal.
no,
You don't want to have to do it. I
yeah,
don't think there's anybody. I mean, everybody, wants to talk a big game,
right,
but it's most of the people that talk a big game are trying to show force anyway.
yeah,
Like most of the people that don't talk are the ones that we've talked about this all the time. The ones that don't talk are the ones you got to worry about. Like the guy sitting over there in the corner that's being quiet is probably the one you need to worry about, not the dude over here that's being a loudmouth about everything.
What did you get to interact with those guys yesterday?
No, not really. We were, Ashley was busy whipping my ass and ping pong.
Again?
Yes.
7 games, huh?
Yeah. How many
More
she beat
than
you
that,
last night?
3.
Dang. Well,
She's freaking good, man. Like she can hit, like on purpose, hit the corner of that table right there, from over there.
dang.
Like I don't know how she does it. I really don't. I thought
Did
I
it
was
make you
good.
as mad last night as it did the night
No,
before?
not as
Yeah.
no. I thought I was good, but apparently,
What movie, if you can think of it, is like the farthest off of what it really is? Can you remember watching a movie where it's just like, that is not at all the way that it's like?
Tropic Thunder.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Jarhead?
Yeah.
So that's Desert Storm. So I don't really know. I wasn't in Desert Storm, obviously. I was in first grade, but some of the stuff that was in there was kind of
Yeah.
felt like it was a little outlandish.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Other than that, because I don't really. Most of the war movies and stuff I watch are all old, like World War II, Vietnam era stuff. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I've watched Lone Survivor and what is that Chris Kyle movie called?
American
Sniper.
American Sniper. And Jarhead.
Black Hawk Down?
Yeah, but that's more.
That's more about a specific incident.
Yeah, and that's Somalia in like the mid-90s.
Gotcha.
And that was a bad deal. That was. They should have. That's stuff like that is what you learn about in training.
Yeah.
Like what
What not to do.
what not to do anymore.
Where was Greg over there?
Greg,
Yeah.
I think so. I
thought
haven't talked to
you
him
had
about
talked to
it.
him. I thought he was in Iraq the same time as you.
I think he said something about it, but we've never had like an in-depth conversation about it. Yeah.
I thought he was flying helicopters.
I think he was. I'm pretty sure he was, but I don't remember. I've talked to him a little bit about it, but we hadn't had like a sit down in depth. Like
I'm gonna probably have him on a podcast at some point.
that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, so then we go to riding bucking horses after that
Yeah. So
and get
Getting
bucked off
shot
a bunch
at.
of saddle bronc horses,
Yeah, it
and
was
then
in, I guess we met in what, 07?
yeah, 07. Maybe 06.
no, we met. I met
I think I met you
I met
first.
Leroy.
I met you at Bubba's.
I met
Yeah.
you at that rodeo.
In Waller, wasn't it?
I don't
Hempstead.
know. Yes.
Hempstead. Yeah.
You were with your dad. I was with my dad.
Yeah.
And then we went to Bubba's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was where I kind of got started. Was at Bubba's. Well, I was getting on saddle bronc horses, and I started there at that Sankey school with Pop.
Yeah.
And then I was just going to CPs and stuff and getting bucked off all the time and going to Bubba's and getting bucked off all the time. And so Bubba talked me into, he's like, man, like, I don't mean to tell you your business, but you're built to be a bareback rider. Like, you ought to think about at least trying it out.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I just bought a brand new saddle, so I wasn't wanting to, like, swap and jump ship and go buy. At that time, they were like $650 rigging. Now they're like $850, but
yeah.
So I borrowed one of his and got on my first bareback horse there at his house, and I covered my first bareback horse.
Yeah.
After I've been getting bucked off of saddle bunk horses for a year and a half.
Scale of 1 to 10, getting shot at as a 10. What is
Yeah.
riding bareback horses?
It's probably a 7.
Yeah.
6 or 7. Yeah, it depends on, I mean, you know as well as I do, it depends on what you're getting on.
Right.
And where you are.
Yeah.
Like if you're at, at Snook, it's going to be way different than if you go to freaking Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Way different.
Right.
Better pick up men at Cheyenne.
Yeah. I don't even know who was picking up
I remember
At Snook? Doug Bass.
that day.
Doug
and
Bass,
then,
probably.
I think there was only
Dallas.
one. Was there only one pickup man?
there's 2 because Dallas. I can't remember Dallas's last name.
Spence.
Spence.
He was riding
Yeah.
a colt, and that colt started bucking as soon as it was time.
Dang,
for
yeah,
him to
this
pick
horse
up.
started turning back. And
Snook was the spot for a while.
Yeah, it was.
Remember the practice pen, though?
Oh, yeah. It was a
Man,
blast.
we'd
We
go
had
to
a
the watering
blast.
hole.
Yeah.
God.
Garrison. And
I don't know why there were always so many girls around.
there was a bunch.
Like,
Because
and
the wild women
Because of
steer riding.
us.
well, back then, but that didn't come till like years later.
Because of us. That's why they were around.
And I don't mean like 40. I'm just saying like the ratio was always pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah. There's
you
always
know.
5 or 6 more than.
It was like
We-
if there was 10 guys, there might be 10 girls kind of deal.
We had a bulletin board at the house.
But there was no reason for them to be there. Was the point?
No.
Like we're practicing. That was what.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't come with none
Bulletin
of
board.
us.
No. There we had a bulletin board at the house. It was like a graveyard for ex-girlfriends. Like we stick a picture on this bulletin board every time one got canned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Payton.
Me and
was
you lived in there.
Yeah. It was me and
then
you and
The
Payton.
third bedroom was like a revolving door.
Yeah.
Payton, Clark,
Leroy. Jacob. Well,
Y'all
Leroy
shared.
was.
Yeah, I lived there for 3 years.
And there was 4 of us at one point because Jacobs was in there with you in the
Yep.
bunk.
Remember Tyler Yocklin?
Yes.
Couch. Oh man, that frustrated you so bad.
Oh my gosh.
he
He was on the couch. I would leave to go to work. Like
Great guy though. Great guy.
Yeah, good guy. But we weren't to the point in our rodeo career that we were winning enough to not have to work. So I was still working. I'd get my butt up in the morning and go to work.
You woke
And this
up
was-
early too.
Yeah, so my parents owned this duplex. So the 3 of us lived on one side and my sister and her friends lived on the other side. So I was like the maintenance guy. Like I was like the manager, the property manager. So anyway, so I'd leave to go to work at like 6:30, 7 in the morning. And I'd come back at 5 o'clock, and this son of a gun would still be sitting on my gosh damn couch where I saw him when I left, eating up all the gosh damn food, watching the freaking cable that we paid for, soaking up all the AC that I didn't get to soak up that day because I was at work. And it just started getting to where,
He would have
like
on
the
a wife beater and boxers.
and just like freaking, like sitting on a beanbag naked eating Cheetos, like that's how, like playing video games, watching TV, just doing nothing.
The day that
No,
Ross
it's like-
had enough, though, he came home and he was sitting there and he had clipped his fingernails and toenails, and they were sitting on a paper plate on the coffee table in front of him.
Bless.
That was the straw that broke the camel.
It was like, y'all got to get. I mean, I know he's y'all, and like we're all friends. Like he's a good dude, but y'all got to get him out of here. We got to. He got to go. He got to go sleep on somebody else's couch for a little bit.
Did he not have a house, or was he just?
I don't remember.
He's
It wasn't.
between- he's
It
between
wasn't, but
leases.
a couple of weeks. You know, it wasn't like a long.
That's
time.
No, it wasn't a
long
long time.
time.
It was like it was like 3 weeks, I
Yeah.
think. But by week 2,
At first, it was like helping him out, and then by the end of it, it was like he was like, "You gotta go."
well,
They
because
they felt sorry for him. He would have seizures.
Oh yeah.
He couldn't drive himself.
Oh.
well, because he
Somebody
was,
else had to
and
drive
he
him
was.
everywhere.
We were gone on the weekend, so we would leave Thursday, and go rodeo Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we wouldn't be back home till Sunday.
So it
but
was
he'd
like-
still be there, you know, like.
But it was like, you know, nobody was there for part of the week, and so
Yeah.
it was easy to, for a couple of weeks at least, justify staying in these people's house, you know, because there was a time when we weren't.
when we weren't there.
Golly.
How about old freaking Gonzalez
Oh man.
in there eating that
Oh,
whole
dude,
roll of summer sausage? He
I
was
was
sitting
so
in a
mad.
recliner and they're watching TV. He had unwrapped this whole, and he was just eating a roll of summer
whole-
sausage like a pickle.
Normally you cut it, you know, you'll cut slices.
Eat 4 or
and
5 slices and you're good.
Oh,
This
my
fool ate the
gosh.
entire-
He was just
a
holding
whole
it.
He was just
log.
holding it, a whole freaking log of
Ate the
summer
whole
sausage.
thing of it, and then he
Golly.
clogged up the toilet.
Man. There would be a lot of like rodeo guys, like people
coming
love
through.
College Station. Everybody did, you know.
Oh, so I had
And like people would just
awesome time there.
come, stay, and hang out, and go to the bar, and so we were kind of a frequent stop,
Yeah.
especially whenever them Floridians started piling into Athens.
Yeah.
You know, they'd come down Hunter and Hunter Carter and
Greaser
and,
and-
Greaser, and
Greasy
all that.
Baby, and all
Yeah.
them would come to College Station. Brian, you know, A&M would have their college rodeo. That weekend was always big. But anyway, whatever.
Man, those are some good times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was definitely some of the highlights.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was fun.
We went many a miles. We had a lot of fun.
Show did. Show did.
Went on my first rodeo run. My first first time going to pro shows was with y'all.
That was
Yeah.
right after the Ardmore deal. That was like 2 months after
Yeah,
we went up to North and
all
South
the
Dakota.
way from started in Cleburne, went to Killdeer.
Yeah, and came back.
No,
and-
I was talking about Perry. Like my first.
Oh, we went to Florida.
Yeah, we went
That's
to Perry,
what it
Georgia.
was. Yeah, I got knocked out and didn't know where the heck we were.
Yeah, we were in Davie, Florida.
Yeah, we went to Perry.
Is it
Dade
Davie
City.
that's like right by Miami?
Yeah, we went to we went to
Went to Perry, Dade City,
Dade City,
and Davie.
And
Davie,
then Davie.
and somewhere else.
I don't remember. But Davie is like
Davie was
southern,
the last
the
one.
most southern part
Yeah.
of Florida that a rodeo could ever be at.
Yeah,
And Ross got knocked
Hempstead's
out.
a little further.
Yeah.
Homestead.
after the whistle.
Homestead's not.
Homestead's
No, Davie's like on the tip.
I thought that's
Homestead's
Homestead.
not. No, Davie's way the hell down there. No, it's not. I go to Homestead all the time. I still do.
Yeah.
Look it up on a map.
I've been to Homestead. Me and Greaser.
Okay, whatever. Davie's on the southern part of this.
Yeah.
Some bitch is like right by
It's next
Miami.
to-
giving you a hard time. I know this. I was with you.
It's right next to Miami.
Been to Davie 3 times.
But I
Okay,
got.
whatever.
But yeah, after
Davey,
the whistle,
He gets knocked
I
out
get knocked out, hit my head on the bucket
Back of the
chutes or
chutes.
something.
and
yeah.
doesn't believe us that we're in Florida
Yeah, I'm not like, why are we in Florida?
for multiple hours.
Oh, dude, I remember.
We're driving home before he's like believes us that we're in Florida.
You and I were on the same side.
Yeah.
Our horses were on the same side. And I remember having to sit there with you. And you asked me like 15 times the same 3 questions. And so, like, I'm trying to saddle my horse, and you're just, like, asking me questions. And I can't remember who I asked. I was like, hey, man, make sure he doesn't wander off.
Which is funny because I didn't even get hit that hard.
No, yeah, you double grabbed and went to jump off and didn't see how close you were to the chutes.
Yeah,
and you hit your
and
head
I
on
hit
the
my
chute.
head on the chutes, and I didn't even hit that hard. I hit way harder, and
Why are we in
Freaking-
Florida? I was like, dude, you planned this trip.
Ardmore.
This
Why are
whole
we
thing was your idea.
Remember when me and you and Emmy went down there?
oh yeah,
Emmy called me the other day.
did he?
Yeah.
Is he doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a little boy. I think he's got a couple kids, actually.
That guy used to freaking ride those practice bulls at the Sankey School with rubber boots on.
Oh, yeah.
He was a cowboy.
Yeah, and a
he
freaking
still
flank
is.
rope.
He could do all of it. He could ride a bareback horse. He could ride a bronc. He could ride a bull. He could fight them.
Yeah.
With
That
a
was-
smile on his face the
That was
whole
his.
time.
I don't want to call it a curse, but it's just like when you're good at so many things that you kind of end up doing a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
He rode bulls on that trip. I just always talk about it because it's
He
a
was
pretty,
the only one to cover a bull down there and won
Yeah.
a bunch of money.
yeah, bunch of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was like 68 points on this flat spinner and won the whole deal. But he, we were coming back. It was like 4-hour shifts. We would each drive 4 hours. I think it was like 20-hour drive or something.
Mm-hmm.
And we cell phones weren't as prolific then. And anyway, I did my shift, whatever. It was time for Emmy to do his, he had done his shift.
He was sleeping,
Yeah.
and we changed the clocks on him.
And we changed the clocks, and he was like, "Gosh, dang, I feel like I only slept 20 minutes." He got in the driver's
It's your
seat.
turn to drive, dude.
You guys let him do that too?
Yeah.
You didn't like.
No.
He drove a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we told him.
He was.
But, like,
he had the radio cranked up. He was in there singing.
He was trying to get, and we
Oh man.
Yeah, y'all went on that trip before we went on ours. 'Cause
Yeah.
Y'all tried doing it to me, and you're like, oh, let's pull an Emmy on him. I wasn't asleep yet.
Yeah.
And y'all had already told me the story, so I knew it was coming.
yeah.
This dude used to snore
Oh
No.
in
He
the
used
back
to.
of that gosh
Still
dang
does.
camper. Shoot, and
Golly.
we'd wake him up. He'd be like, "What, dude? I
He would
wasn't
get so
snoring.
mad, like,
I wasn't even asleep."
you think we're
Like,
just
dude.
randomly waking you up at 1:30 just for the hell of it? You're snoring so dang loud, we can't even think straight.
He was up there like throwing pillows at him. And stuff.
Well, if the bed was the problem was the bed was too
Oh,
comfortable.
22 days on the road, this joker snoring every night.
Well, I'd stayed
What?
awake long enough to let y'all try to go to sleep before
he
I
was
did.
in the top.
No, you were in the top the whole time.
No, I think he was in the top.
No, you and I shared the bottom bunk, and he was in the top the whole time.
That actually makes sense. I remember being on the bottom.
And then y'all tried to make you brought your bedroll, and you were like, man, let's put the saddles in the front. You got to get up underneath the bed, man. We got to roll that bedroll out. Y'all tried to make me sleep underneath it so y'all couldn't hear it.
I think I wanted you
Snoring.
out of the bed with me because your damn toenails. Gosh, dang.
like
So gonna
like a
cut this.
freaking cat.
Did you get kicked by a bronc? No, it's Leroy's toenails got me.
Oh man.
They were short too. I like to keep the edges so I don't get
That was a-
ingrown.
Probably-
That was a good trip
That was
too.
A
a
month or
trip.
two ago, Florian Bowman called me.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Strasburg. Is that North Dakota?
Yeah,
South
we
Dakota?
rode at Strasburg.
yeah.
Leroy was the only one to get into it for some reason. And then we had like 4 days to kill, and we went to a cafe, and we were like, what are we gonna do? And I saw an older couple, and I was like, they look like they ranch. And I went over, I was like, just started a conversation with them. I was like, how are y'all? You don't need any work done, do you? Somewhere we could plug in. And we went and worked for 4 days. at
We
this
cleaned
ranch.
out
Remember
that
what we did?
barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
cleaned.
It had been cleaned
Them
in
horses
2
and
years.
them horses and cows that got in there with hay and just crapped in it, and it was It was probably about a foot deep at least, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Shovels.
more than
Yeah, we were in there
We
with shovel.
shoveled it.
Yeah,
whole barn.
shoveled the whole barn out.
Golly.
Got on a couple colts.
He was telling us that it was
Yeah.
that barn during the winter. There's so much snow, they just put all that hay in there and they open the whole barn up so all
Just
the animals can get
yeah,
in.
let
so they
them
don't
get
freeze.
in there.
And
But yeah, that was a good trip, and then we
rhubarb pie, eh?
huh?
Rhubarb pie.
That
eh?
was some damn good pie.
And then
Mhm.
we got back and I bought rhubarbs, like trying to
trying to make that
remake
pie.
it, and apparently they aren't sweet.
Yeah, it's hard to make rhubarb pie. Golly.
Yeah, we had a
Man, that was a
pretty good
trip.
run of it there.
Here's to the sunny slopes
For
of
a
long
while.
ago.
Yeah. Then we
Well-
all moved in at the ranch.
It's still
Yeah.
going. You're still rodeoing. Where are you
Yeah.
going over the 4th?
I'm going to Buffalo on Friday and Teague on Saturday. That buckle's been
Looming.
missing me.
Speaking of buckles, are you going to go to El Dorado?
Maybe.
Yeah. That's
It's end of
always
July, right?
late July.
Yeah.
I would love to
I
win
think
that
I've been
buckle.
second at Teague
been-
like 3 times.
I've been second at El Dorado twice.
Yeah. I think I was first, like all the way up until like the last rider one time. They beat me by like 1 point.
Teague sticks out in my mind from I got hurt, separated my shoulder, dislocated, and broke my collarbone. And I was walking back to the bucking chutes, and all I could hear was Ross laughing. Just that freaking look at him, because I was walking back and my arm was like hanging down past my knee.
There's nothing that I laughed more at than when he took a horn up the pooper at Fort Scott, Kansas. He was fighting bulls.
Man, it was
I
so
was-
cold.
He
I
was
went to
sore.
that
It was
school.
like 17 degrees.
I went to that school to ride bulls,
Yeah, and
and the
Ben-
bullfighter got hurt.
what was
Yeah.
what was his name?
The bullfighter got hooked,
Benny.
and then Benny Bob Patrick, I think, got hooked.
Yeah.
And then they were like,
Yeah, he hurt his leg.
hey, realize
you
that you're
to
here to ride, but what if you fought? So I was in jeans,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you're
gosh,
riding back.
damn,
He
that was
got
a
hooked.
cold.
He was sore for like a week. He could hardly sit in the seat to drive home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
us-
we lost
us-
camera 1.
Us three and Tyler Terry.
Tyler
and
Terry.
Sims,
There's another kid.
And,
Sims, I can't remember his last name.
Tyler went up there to ride bulls, didn't tell his parents, and then we went in
Did he
Clay
get in trouble?
Jackson's. Nah, I mean, not bad, but we went in Clay Jackson's Honda Civic.
I thought that was another trip.
Well, we went to Fort
You
Scott
and I-
twice.
You and I, did you go with
I
us
was
when we
there.
went in Clay
He went
Jackson's?
once.
There was no radio, no freaking little bitty old.
Power windows,
Yeah,
I think
Two
you and I
door.
argued the whole way there.
2-door.
about something. silly.
Teague though,
Oh, yeah.
the one the I was like early rodeoing, and the only you there's no way you remember this, but every time I see a bandana, I think about the bullfighter came up to us and he was like, "Hey, what do y'all got, a condom?" And I was like, "No," and he was like, "I need the thing off of it to put for my bandana. It's good luck." And he walked off, and we were like, "You trashy son of a," and I was like, it was like like I had not been to a lot of rodeos.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that like a thing? Am I new? Like what? That's not cool. Turned out like it wasn't a thing, and it's not cool. And I've never ever heard of that again. And the bullfighter was a
That
piece
sounds
of trash.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Why would you want to wear?
Do you remember that?
No.
Okay. Well,
It
it I was disgusted enough that I remember it all these years later. And I
Yeah.
was just wondering if you remembered that.
No,
Sorry.
that's
I didn't mean to bring. That's a disgusting story, but I was just like, there's people around. It's like a form. Like,
and
I mean,
why would we? We're about to get on.
I got my ride.
Oh,
yeah, of course I
got,
do.
I got one in my wallet from 8th grade. Here you go.
Weirdo. Gosh dang.
Oh
Just
gosh, dude.
Tied in a knot. It's a bandana. Who cares? Weirdo. Anyway.
But yeah, so. But yeah, no, I'm starting to climb on a few, and we were talking about like God's timing and stuff like that. Like I call you last week about that stupid rigging, man. Like, we got so much rain, like within a month or so, and I left that rigging in the garage. I mean, I had it on the spur board, and I left that rigging in the garage, and that
Which
old
would be
handle just
normal. Like, I
freaking-
mean, like, why not? Like,
that
it's,
old handle just broke down on me, and
Too
my
much
hand was
moisture.
just rolling out. And I'm riding great, feel great, riding great.
Yeah.
I'm probably in better shape than I've been in a long time.
yeah.
And it's just so, but I got a new one, so we're
Yeah.
on.
For the listeners that don't know, the handles are made out of rawhide.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
why
Wet, they get a little
humidity and all that.
The humidity will get them bad. Well, and it was a 2-year-old rigging, so at some point it was about to,
Yeah.
it was gonna break down on me. But
Yeah.
yeah, we got it.
Huh.
Should have it rolling now, and then I'm gonna kind of finish out the year going to some amateurs, and then buy my PRCA stuff back in October and see if I can
Do the
give them a run.
Do the deal.
Give them a run.
Yeah.
They'll be announcing me with Will Lowe as being the 240-year-old guys.
Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Not a damn thing wrong with it.
No.
We might be right there with you.
Yeah.
Good.
Not 40. I'm not 40, but not far from it, I guess.
Yeah.
Closer to 40 than I am at 20.
Yeah. We're going to see if Donnie can go.
Where are you going this weekend?
Wimberley.
Friday.
Yeah. Maybe
That'll be
Buffalo
good.
Saturday.
Wimberley's fun. I like
Yeah.
Wimberley.
It's in that bowl.
Yeah.
That is a neat place.
Yeah.
That, and if it's on the 4th, they do a really cool fireworks show. at the end.
over the 4th.
They got another rodeo in Wimberley in September. They don't have a buckle then.
Do
Heck,
you
we went to
remember?
that one. I think us three went to that one in
So-
September.
Yeah. So Wimberley, this is the last time I got on a saddle bronc horse.
With
Do you,
Charlie,
yeah, Charles came.
he got on one too.
Yeah. And we
In
went
Wimberley?
to, did he get on one or he got on a bull?
He got on a-
bull. He didn't
I
enter
think
in the
he-
bronc riding. He got on bronc
I
at the
thought he
house.
got on, yeah.
He got on
I
a
think he
bull
got
in
on a
Wimberley.
bull. But anyway, so, because remember I got kicked in the face a couple weeks prior to that.
Thornton.
Yeah, and I couldn't stand to, like, the bareback riding because it was too much pressure.
Yeah.
Because my face, like, it was still, like,
Right.
Your bones.
and so, but I could get on a bronc.
Yeah.
And so, but I got freaking 2 jumps.
I remember.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, hoping you were going to do good, but then also praying you didn't hit your face again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did I go with y'all on that one? Is that when I?
Keegan
when I-
was with it. That was when we went and jumped those cliffs over there
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
at Dead Man's Hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trip when
It was in September because I won the bronc riding and I thought they had a buckle and I went upstairs and I was heartbroken because they were like, no, that's only on the
It
4th.
was in September?
Yeah.
I thought it was on the 4th. So
No.
they do give a buckle at Wimberley for the 4th?
Or maybe it's the
I
opposite.
think it's the opposite.
Maybe they give that buckle in the fall and that was over the 4th.
So it
That
was
would
over
make
the
more
4th.
sense because that's when
That's when I got
hot.
kicked. Yeah, I got kicked
Yeah,
in
y'all
like
would've- yeah.
Memorial Day weekend. So it was only like a month later.
Jumped Dead Man's in September.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we might have. It's still hot, but it was
Yeah.
definitely hot enough that it was over the 4th.
That was the trip when I got off on the pickup man Emery, and ripped his shirt off. My hand got caught in my pinky got caught in his shirt, ripped all his buttons off.
Yeah. I got on Tarleton.
I can't remember what I got on a black horse. I can't remember its name.
Some of those I hardly remember.
Man, those Johnny Hull horses, I remember a lot of them. Some of my best rides.
Well, when you follow around a stock contractor enough that you kind of get to.
Yeah,
know
but I hadn't been in so long. It's hard to. A lot of those horses we were getting on 3 or 4 years ago. He's bucking some of them, but a lot of them are, he doesn't. He's got different ones now.
Yeah. Especially in the bareback riding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dale, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
The saga.
I'm trying to remember if there was anything else I was going to ask you. We talked about you getting beat at ping pong, rodeo.
Mhm. That was a requirement.
Yeah. Yeah, for you being here.
Yeah.
Well, We give at the end of each podcast, we give life advice. Do you have any life advice?
I think I might have a little bit. I think it would just be, don't ever let somebody else convince you that you can't do something that you're either passionate about or want to do. You have to be willing to just flat out get after it. Like you have to, if you have a passion for something, you have to have a passion enough to want to do it yourself. Not saying that everybody gets help along the way, but you have to be able to take that help and live by your experiences to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy. I was thinking about that last night. Well, on my way to the drive, I was listening to a podcast, and I just got to thinking, somebody said something, and I was like, nobody owes you shit.
No, not freaking nothing.
Nobody.
And that's what I tell my kids that all the time. Like I tell Brody that all the time. Like, dude, nobody owes you freaking anything. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
Like nobody. And when it really comes down to it, nobody cares.
That either. Yeah.
No, nobody cares.
Nope.
If you end up living underneath a bridge somewhere, your parents might care, but to a certain extent. If you're get into bad ways and that kind of deal, and like, no, I mean, yeah, people care in the sense of donating food, donating money, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
In that sense, they care, but like really in the grand scheme of things,
yeah, we all got crap.
Yeah,
everybody's
got something going on.
Yeah,
every freaking body.
Yeah,
yeah.
What you got, Donnie?
When you get at the end of your rope, tie a knot in it, hang on.
I like it.
Yeah. That is a good one.
Are you about to cry?
Yep.
I should have been thinking about it. I was listening.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Are you about to cry?
Maybe.
I was. One of the things I made a meme on it a long time ago. I like to quote myself, but I'm also humble. And I made a meme of myself, and I even put Dale Brisby on it, you know. And it said, it was on a picture of me in mud boots with spurs, but you know, and they were tied on.
Yeah.
And I had bull riding spurs on the mud boots, but they were Kelly's.
Yeah.
And the meme said, "Be a Fruit Loop in a bowl full of Cheerios." And somebody commented on it, and they said, "Yeah, look at this guy with his spurs on upside down." But they were Kelly's.
They were Kelly's,
and they got that little jaunt in them on the shank, and it's like he picked the most legitimate part of
about
the
whole
whole
deal.
picture. Like, you could have commented on the fact I'm wearing mud boots. You could have commented on the fact that I'm quoting myself like a douchebag. You could have commented on the actual quote, but you picked the most legitimate thing, like the old school, bad to the bone Kelly's, and they're not upside down. You know, he just doesn't know bull riding spurs. And he threw shade on the one thing that was legitimate, and I thought that was funny. The whole thing encompassed Dale Brisby. It's like, you, my friend, are a Dale Brisby.
Yeah.
But Ryder Wright, who's a Rodeo Time wearer, he's got
World
that's his
champion.
bio, and a world champion, multiple time saddle bronc riding world champion. It's his Instagram bio and has been for like 4 years, and I've never been prouder.
Yeah.
Be a Fruit Loop in a bowl full of Cheerios.
Yeah, right. He makes my Latigos for me. Like,
yeah,
this guy that.
Yeah, he does leather work. Yeah. He does also do leather work
He's
and made the
actually
Latigos.
good. Pretty handy with some leather.
What do you got now?
Man, you got one life, so just live it. Yeah. Kind of on the same thing Ross is saying. Like, if there's something you want to do it. Doesn't matter what your parents say, in-laws say. Like, if it's something specific that you really want to do, go do it. Don't give a crap what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
If you got haters, you're doing something right.
That's what I know.
Well, I got plenty of those.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Rodeo Time, the podcast. If you want Ross on, hit him up. Hit me up. I'll get you in contact with him.
That would be sweet.
We're on to the next one. Text me 940-353-0890. Let me know text me the word podcast. Let me know what you think about it. Check out dalebrisby.com. Like to thank Can-Am, Total Feeds, American Hat, Rock and Roll Denim, Excalibur Containers. Pow pow.
Oh,
and
Corey.
On to the next one.
Rodeo time.